Welcome back to the Thinking Critical Comic Book Podcast. It's time for the Comics Aficionados, the best damn comic book related YouTube and podcast series you'll ever find on the interwebs. We've had I don't know, has this been a nondescript week in comic books? It feels like nothing happened.
Yeah, there's been no drama, nothing at all. I don't even know what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we're just going to ad-lib this for 2 hours because nothing happened. Obviously, this was a big week. We've got two major topics. We have DC Comics retconning Tim Drake's sexuality. We also have the big Substack thing that's going on. We've got the X-Men writer, the Batman writer, the Spider-Man writer. Everybody's going to Substack these days, poaching talent left and right. So that should be a very interesting discussion. We've also got the DC solicitations. I hope you love Batman as much as Josh does. Even Josh is going to be done with Batman after November 2021. It's insane. Obviously, we have a wonderful panel here today talking about comic books. First up, we've got Kerry from Nerdygirlcerates. And if you have not subscribed to Kerry's channel, you are missing out on some wonderful content. She's new to the YouTube game, but there is a link in the video description if you want to go check it out. How you doing, Kerry?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Are you ready to hang out with these bums?
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, they're harmless, other than Fatal Jay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
You almost made me shed a tear when you said that, man.
The most homicidal takes on the entire interwebs on comic books and comic book movies. Fatal Jay from the Fatal Jay
Hold on,
show.
homicidal? What are you talking about, sir?
The fatality. Fatal Jay, right?
Oh, you mean because I killed him? Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. How you doing, everybody? My name is Fatal Jay. I am the creator of Ninja Blast, and I want to tell this to everybody who supported. Ninja Blast is literally coming to me right now, and Ninja Blast will be coming to you soon. So thank you so much for everybody supported. I showed Wes the whole comic book. I thought he was going to trash it, and he didn't.
I did not. I got a sneak peek. It's actually pretty fun.
And me and Wes got total different polar opposite opinions about everything, and he liked it. I'm scared.
I have good taste in comics. Fatal Jay, for the most part, has bad taste, and he made a good comic. I don't know how it happened.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Next up, we've got Gevian Dargan, the man that's complicated with me. This week, we had a fun conversation. We got a little bit of hate. For the most part, I think people were on board that maybe we shouldn't always believe all women.
Oh, wait a minute. We got hate? I didn't see those. Wait a minute. Now I got to go back and
There's
check.
one or two in there that thought we went too far, even though we didn't go far enough.
Come on. I'm trying to survive my YouTube career here. I'm trying to get killed. But yeah,
We're not trying to get banned.
That's right.
How's everything coming with animated concepts? Going to be one of the hottest upstart comic books companies out there.
Yeah, it's coming along. So we're definitely nailing down a launch date for February, March of next year. Got a marketing meeting today. So a lot of things are coming together. So hopefully soon we'll be providing a lot of announcements and updates. So looking forward to it. Things are moving along. One day I'll be as famous and rich as Fatal Jay.
Whoa, it's a high bar. We've got
there you go.
Has a really good point here in the comments. He's saying smash the like button. Please, if you're showing up and you want to enjoy this conversation, let everybody else know how much fun we're having talking about comic books, comic book related things. Smash the like button and share the link if you can. If you have the time, we would appreciate that. Next up, we've got the man that knows everything about Batman, but really he knows everything about comic books. He's got Popeye culture. He's a critic on BatmanNews.com. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. I've got my King Shark shirt on. Nom, nom, nom. I'm making friends with Mitch Garrett's on Twitter. It's been a good week.
You had a little dispute there. Do you think Mitch regrets asking you specifically why you thought he was douchey from time to time?
Yes, I very much think so. Very much.
You were very direct with your response.
Look, there was an end point to the conversation, and it stopped. And it was like 2 hours later he came back and said it, and I was like, "Okay, it's late, and I'm tired, and here we go, word vomit."
Finally, we've got Doc. He's in between business trips. Thank you for making time with this week. We got the X-Men story, the Marvel Aficionado. I didn't know if you were going to make it this week.
Yeah, well, I'm always at least in town. Well, most of the time, Saturdays. So, at worst case scenario, I can always just hop on my phone and you can have my terrible, atrocious audio.
Man, I remember some of those videos you did where we could hear all the cars in the background because
Oh,
you were getting your oil change.
yeah, I was getting an oil change that day. Yeah, that kind of sucked.
That was
I
rough.
kept
That was almost, remember when oh man, who was it that came on and they were in the gym?
Oh yeah, Bats.
It was Bats, Sergeant Bats. He was in the gym, and then you could hear everybody like clanging weights the entire time.
Yeah, that was some
What
of
do you
the
mean you want
early
me to go?
shows.
It's like, yeah, we can't do this.
This
It's
is
a low-rent show, but we need audio that sounds okay.
some of the early shows were let's just
Work
say
in progress.
we were a work in progress.
Doc, how did you miss out on AEW Rampage? You were in Pittsburgh.
I was so tired, and I had a lot of work to do, plus yard work, plus actually reading comics so that I could be ready for when we did This Week in X-Men. I didn't even get to the comic shop until Friday because I wasn't in town. And then I had to do laundry because I got to leave again tomorrow.
All right, Doc, we heard enough about your thing. You should have went to AEW Rampage is my point. But I do appreciate you driving it there. We got a few super chats. We got Exploding Pretty, $5. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Happy belated free comic book day, dudes. Absolutely. If you did not make it to your comic shop, once we're done here, go get your free comic book day. What can they be looking for in that Batman free comic book day, Josh? Anything good?
I know that there's a King Shark special that's coming out, and then there is
The Tim Seeley?
Yeah. And then they've also got one that features Fear State, and they've got a book it's a combo. So part of it features Fear State, part of it features I Am Batman, which. But I think those are the two big pushes.
So this is King Shark based off the movie that just came out, or they trying to? Oh, okay.
It's all right. It's not. It's just all right. But no, it is a little difference.
Gotcha. Wes
Definitely
actually liked the movie, and I hated it.
We're going to talk
big
about
surprise.
that at the end, Jay. You know that's one of the topics. My good, don't try and jump the line.
Sorry, sir.
We'll get there eventually. We got bigger things. We got Jordan Fugate, also known as Jordan Fugate. Fugate definitely sounds more like a gangster. Good morning, gentlemen and lady. Looking forward to a good show and peak Doc when it comes to Tim Drake news. Are you going to go full Doc on us, Doc?
I don't know, man. I don't.
He's not. He doesn't.
I'm not that big.
He lives in the moment.
I'm not that big of a DC guy. Plus, I mean, hell, Stephanie Brown's still my favorite Robin. So whatever.
Hey,
Well, they might have affected Stephanie Brown. It was a long, steady relationship for her. Also, Kenneth Dowling. Hello, wonderful people. I'm excited to discuss some of these topics today. Let's discuss. That is a perfect segue, my friend. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the big news. DC went and retconned Tim Drake's sexuality in Batman Urban Legends #6, heavily hinted at in #5. We knew this was going to be coming out. This was from Meghan Fitzmartin. Not exactly a household name to DC Comics readers. She's done some, I think, DC superhero girls. She did Robin Eternal. Also done some work on supernatural things like that. All right, who we throwing this to first? Carrie, what are your thoughts on this retcon? Are you upset? Are you indifferent? What do you think?
It's happened so often that it's got to a point where I'm like, oh well. It doesn't feel genuine anymore. I mean, I remember back in the 90s when they had Apollo and Midnighter, it felt like, oh wow, they're really doing
That
this.
was good with Wildstar. Yeah.
But now it's just like I said on Twitter, they put a bunch of characters on a board and throw a dart and said, this week we're going to do Tim Drake. It doesn't feel like they actually put effort into it. They're like, today, we're going to throw this out.
I want to say something. I'm not a part of the community, have nothing against the community, but it just seems to me when they do that to a character, it's almost like they're, how can I describe it? Using them to get money, to make money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just me. That's just a Fatal J take to it. It just seems like, okay, we have another character that's like this. Come and buy the comic book. Now, this is what I want to know. Are they buying the comic book after they address the sexuality of the character?
That's a great
We
question.
won't know until Urban Legends 10 when they actually readdress the
But
story.
no, but I'm talking about since they've been doing this in comics, have sales went up?
No.
Well, I think the cover price on the comic is up on eBay now that it has some notoriety because it's a collector's issue.
but actual sales are never affected by it. It's look, people can smell pandering from a mile away.
Yeah.
The and the gay community can smell it just as well as straight people. Men can smell it just as much as women, and trans people can smell it just as much as everybody else. We can all smell bullshit pandering, and we know when it's fake and when it's genuine. When it's done well, like as Kerry mentioned, Apollo and the Midnighter, it feels genuine. Mm-hmm. The same way that nobody gave a shit about Black Panther and Storm's marriage because it was so obviously forced and not genuine, is the same reason why people actually do give a damn about Peter Parker and Mary Jane's marriage, because it was legit, it was earned. But look, we can smell it from a mile away when it's bullshit pandering, and this is more bullshit pandering.
Josh, could you smell what DC was cooking?
Yeah,
I think the community Jay was talking about might have been the LGBT community. I think
yes,
you might be a member.
Yeah. No, I'm a gay man, and I hate.
Oh,
this.
okay.
I hate. For me, I with DC, they've been struggling to figure out what they wanted to do or what they need to do with Tim Drake ever since the New 52 launched, and it's just been like them throwing ideas at the wall, trying to see what sticks. And this is drastic enough that they feel like they can pat themselves on the back because they did something positive, and like they're virtue signaling here. But for me, it's also like they picked the safest bet to try to do this with. If they're going to do it within the Bat family, in their minds, they picked the safest bet because they don't think Tim has any value. And I think that's why they chose
not
Tim.
Nightwing. He's not Red Hood. The only other one out there really would be Stephanie Brown.
Yeah, but
they've already got Batwoman.
Which one is Stephanie Brown? That's the one that's from Dark Knight Returns?
No.
Spoiler.
No, she's spoiler currently. She was spoiler before she became Robin in Robin number 126.
It's another girl, Robin?
Yeah, she was.
She didn't last very long.
She didn't last. Oh. She lasted up until No Man's Land.
I didn't know that.
She died in No Man's Land. And then,
what's the other girl Robin name? Carrie, right? Carrie?
Carrie Kelly.
Kelly.
Oh, okay.
And then she became Catgirl in Dark Knight 2.
Interesting stuff. We do have a couple of super chats we need to get to. Federico De La Casa with the €5 super chat. Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Do you think after ruining our toys, we will go back to a normal universe? Do you think a new Crisis, Secret War? Do I have to stick to EU and manga? They're definitely doing a new Crisis. That's planned for the next year.
Wow.
As a Batman guy, that's someone that's got a few connections on this, Josh. Do you think they end up going back? Are they going to retcon the retcon? I think this is probably in there for good.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to try to run with this as long as they can. I don't have promising thoughts on this crisis. I just feel like every time we try to redo something, we just make things a little bit worse, and I think we're going to continue down that trend. And at this point, I think they've segregated their audience so much that the only way you can make everyone happy is kind of create two different lines. You have your pretty much pre-Flashpoint line, and then everything you've done since then, because those are the two markets, major markets that you've created with your fans. But no, I don't feel good about the future.
Well, Josh, I want to ask a question because this is very interesting to me. With the LGBT community, and excuse me if I'm offending, because I know it's longer than that. I know the name is longer than that, but and I'm ignorant, so just bear that in mind.
You're good, man. I stopped at LGBTQ, and I couldn't tell you what comes.
Okay. Is it a big community with that within the comic book world? Because see, I wouldn't know.
As far as gay people go, I think a lot of gay people gravitate towards comics because a lot of your representation started in comics before you really had it in television and film, so they felt like they had a place there. And I think in the 80s and 90s, especially when you had a lot of kind of like social issues that were really coming to the forefront within the gay community, there was like a safe place for them in comic shops. It was kind of like this underground like hangout place. So I think a lot of gay people do like comics. But again, like we can smell pandering from a mile away. And I think the people that, and I will say, like I had a conversation with someone on Twitter, and it was someone who was just recently going with discovering, being bi or being gay. So for them, this resonated, and I'm glad it resonated with them. But I also wonder, did it only resonate because this is new to you and this is one of the first things you've experienced media-wise that touched on that subject? But for me, like, I am not a fan. I think it's the wrong way to go about this. Like, DC's patting themselves on the back, and I'm saying you don't deserve that pat on the back.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff.
I don't mean to interject here, but and this might be inappropriate. I don't know. It feels like no. I mean,
there we go.
Look, I feel like the only people that really are happy with this, just because it does smell so obviously like pandering bullshit to most people, are the like hardcore activist types.
Yeah.
And those people, the people that are the hardcore activists, they're never happy with just getting something. They always need to take something away from others in the process, because they could have created a gay Robin or a bi Robin, or used a little known character that didn't have a long history, especially with a partner, the way that Tim Drake has had with Stephanie Brown. And they could have done it that way, but instead it was the only people that are really happy are the people that get to say, nah, we took this away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had an argument with someone on that.
Yeah. What's weird too is, like, it's not like the Bat family's hurting for gay characters at all. Because you do have Batwoman, you've got Harley and Ivy now, you do have Bluebird, you've got Bluebird's brother. They're all in the LGBTQ community, and you had a period of time where they were pushing Midnighter into the Bat family, and it actually worked really well. And he's a gay man, so I think they should have just, if they wanted a gay male character, they should have just kind of went back to reinserting Midnighter into that group so he's somewhat associated.
Yeah, I was on Twitter and I was having this argument with somebody. They were saying, well, we have to like balance the scales. And I'm like, but if you keep taking from the other side of the scale and pulling it over there, you're not going to create a balance.
No, not
Why
at
not
all.
create something new?
Look, we're going to reach a point where there's going to be so many characters in the Bat family, and they'll probably end up circling back to reinsert Midnighter. And someone way down the road is going to be like, wait, there's too many gay characters. We need to turn one of them straight. Let's pick this Midnighter guy. And it's going to be like insane. But that's the trend we're on. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
We've also got Chuck Skill saying, happy Saturday, aficionados. I wonder what Chuck Dixon thinks about this Robin retcon. I think he's less than impressed. That is just, that's a guess. But I think he, if he wanted to do it, I think he would have executed it better. They could have actually, planted the seeds and then played this out for 2 years. And then when it happened, it would have been an earned moment. This came literally out of nowhere.
Oh, 100%.
It came out of nowhere by someone that didn't earn the right to make that decision.
Agreed.
Yeah. Y'all think it would have had a bigger impact if it was Dick?
If it was no, I think it would have been.
Yeah.
Well, it would have made more.
Josh, why you laughing?
Frederick Wardham would have been right. Vindicated.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
It definitely would have been a bigger dick.
Yeah, I mean, let's dial it back. We got Wolfstein 3D with the €4.99 super chat. People cared when DC didn't allow Batwoman to get married because the character was created like that. Robin will get the Iceman route. It's not honest. And that's true. People were like, why wouldn't you let this character get married to her partner? They've led up to it. It's an earned moment. And then we go this route. And I am pessimistic, Gervain, that he will get Iceman. He'll come out for the Pride issues. And if he's featured in a comic book, it will just be to remind everyone that he's part of the LGBTQ community, which is essentially what Iceman is used for nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. As was mentioned earlier, it was like, it just feels like, there was a whiteboard or a list, and it was just like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, okay. And and they basically made Tim Drake was he bisexual? Bisexual. Can't keep up with all of the different orientations these days, but that's what it is. It's like, because you look at Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, that didn't seem to create as much of a stir. I didn't keep up with it, but I just don't remember everybody necessarily going like having a problem or an issue with it. I'm assuming it was that relationship was, they came into it more gradually and more organically. But with this one here, it was like, yeah, it's like, which Robin can we do this with? Much almost to a certain extent, I would almost say like what they did when they decided to kill Jason Todd. But Jason Todd, I guess, either was so universally hated because he was such a Dick Grayson clone that they figured, well, we might as well kill him and see if we get some sales that way. And then people only got heat for that because they thought they were killing Dick Grayson. It's Robin. People who don't read comics were getting upset about the fact that they were just killing off Robin. But I think with this here, I think this is just, they got the little blip, the little PR pop, and that's going to be about it. And a year from now, no one's going to remember and or care. And Tim Drake, I think now I'm starting to feel sorry for him because in many ways, he really did make the idea of Robin legit. And I think that's what people forget is that before this, other than Dick Grayson, you know, Jason Todd had a horrible reception, horrible run. And then it was like when Dixon came along and created Drake, he was just a much more fully realized character. And he really made the idea of Robin like, you know, yeah, it belonged there. And I think he's just getting real short shrift at this point. It's a real missed opportunity.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
I'm kind of worried too that they're going to fundamentally change how he acts, and that's going to drive me crazy. Just me personally, it's honestly more so quote unquote gay activists than anyone else that like to tell me that I don't act gay enough, which just royally pisses me off. But I feel like they're going to gay him up, and he's going to start being more quote unquote flamboyant. And for me, it's just like, that's so narrowing, you know, like if they decide to take this route and they keep him acting the same way that he's always acted for the most part, I won't mind it. But if they gay it up, it's really going to upset me.
I can't wait until he turns into Jack from Will and Grace.
We do have Eric O'Sullivan chiming in. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. $50 is very generous. For Josh, I know that coming out is very personal and breakthrough experience for every gay friend I have. Beyond the trend, how does it parallel to your story? Is it familiar to you? Thanks.
The only thing that resonated with me from the story was there's a line that he mentioned about what he had with Stephanie was real and he loved Stephanie and he can't explain it. I would say when I was a teenager, I had love for girls that I felt was honest and true, but I knew it wasn't a romantic love. It was just a care for love. So that was the only thing that resonated for me. You know, so I'm sure people will resonate with that. I'm sure people that aren't out will benefit from reading this in one way or another. But I do think there's better examples of this. And I just hope that people will kind of push them to better characters. But that's pretty much my stance on it.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. We've also got Kenneth Dowling with the $10 super chat. Wes, you slam me every time I agree with Doc because it's ridiculous. There's no one less agreeable on the entire channel than Doc. I don't get it. You seem like such a good person. But when he's right, he's right. That Black Panther's storm was forced. It all comes down to story and character development. Peter MJ is real and lasts.
Exactly.
I just want to say this. Go ahead, Doc.
No, go ahead, Jay.
I just want to be real quick and short. Kenneth Dowling has spent $1 million on this channel right here. Shout out to Kenneth Dowling for being the man.
For real.
Yo, Kenneth, where you get it from? Is you a kingpin in Colombia or something? I just shout out to Kenneth Dowling.
He's the guy behind Bitcoin.
But he is, look, he's right because I'm right. Black Panther and Storm was forced. It came out of left field with two characters that had absolutely no history together. Whereas MJ and Peter took a decade of them knowing each other and then another, couple of years of them being together before they actually got hitched. I mean, look, it's not complicated. Like even like the Rogue and Gambit one, even though it was like out of left field for them actually getting married, that one was still earned, and that's why you didn't get the same pushback from people because they had that will they, won't they, or they tried to be together but couldn't actually make it work thing for like 20 years before they, they did a swerve to get them married, but it was otherwise going to be Kitty and Colossus, who also had decades of,
they sure did.
Being together.
Superman and Lois.
good example, Doc, would be recently in X-Men, we had that moment where they would not return Destiny to Krakoa for Mystique. And when she says, and she's screaming, and you can see her face and the pain in her face, she's saying, "Give me back my wife." I think that resonates with everybody because these two have been together forever, and she wants her wife back.
And she lost her. Well, I guess you're going on 25 years ago in the comics. So yeah, she wants it back. Actually, probably 30 years now. She wants her back. Because that's a good number of years, and they had been partners. Now, whether or not they were gay at the time, they never made it that way. It was just they kind of seemed like two best women friends, or almost like a mother, like stepdaughter relationship.
Now you're making it weird, Doc.
But no, because
it's a May December relationship.
Destiny,
that's what it is.
Destiny was significantly older. And
that's what I'm saying. It's May December. They ain't wrong with that.
And that's cool, whatever. But they had been together as partners for their entire history up until the time Destiny died. So, all they did was just retcon in that they were actually married. That's whatever. I don't care. Especially when one's a shapeshifter. So cool. They don't even have to. I don't even know if they're gay.
All right, Doc, let's get back on track. We got Federico Galicassi with the €5 super chat. Apollo and Midnighter were gay was unimportant. Midnighter was scary as hell. Tim being gay goes nowhere. They just dropped the bomb. Next he goes versus Joker it sells.
But Apollo and Midnight, they was created like that though.
Not well, no. But
No.
let's
I thought
look
they
at,
They were always together.
They was
were
always together in the Authority, I thought.
Yes, but even going back to the Stormwatch days, whenever they were first introduced, you only knew that they were just partners on a super, they were a team up, like Danny Rand and Luke Cage. That's all you initially knew. You knew that they cared for each other a great bit. Then you found out that they were the leftovers from one of Henry Bendick's experiments, that they're the only two members of the team that survived, and they were, kind of staying together out of, for survival. So that's what you kind of chalked it up to initially until Mark Miller came in and made it overt that they were actually gay.
Yeah, I only started with it, but
yeah. We've also got Darth Bobcat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I didn't realize how much I cared about Tim until they took him away. Looking forward to Cena Grace getting the 3-issue Tim miniseries girlfriend. And that's the big worry here, Josh, is that they're, they typecast writers nowadays. There's only going to be a select few writers that are going to be able to work with Tim anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately. We're seeing this in other places too. Like you're seeing it in film, like, oh, you can only play a gay character if you're gay. And I don't agree with it. I think you need different perspectives because I think if you're a good writer, you're going to get a broad perspective. Yep. And, even just saying like, oh, I can only write Tim because I'm gay. Like I can go name 10 other people that their experience as a gay person is way different than mine. It's just a crapshoot and we'll see what happens. I hope they find something to do. Not to circle back to this, but part of the confrontation between Mitch Gerrits and I was the fact that there were comments being made like, oh, Tim's finally interesting now. And I'm like, look, if you look at this character's history and you don't find anything interesting about this character, a character that is viewed by Ra's al Ghul as being the heir, even above Damian, to become taking the Batman throne, a character that beat Lady Shiva, that is considered the best detective next to, if not better than Batman. If you can't find anything interesting in those aspects, then you probably shouldn't be writing the character. And I think that's what they need to start looking at again. But I don't think comic writers care about the characters anymore. I think they just care about winning fan favor, and they're failing miserably.
Tim was the best detective out of all of them.
Exactly, yeah. I'm going to piggyback on what Josh said because that was the whole point, is that there's only one other person besides Ra's who figured out who Batman was, and that was Tim. And with a hell of a lot less resources. It's like, what are you talking about? But all this means is that at some point, probably about 5-6 years from now, Tim's going to get the Heroes in Crisis treatment. I'll put money on that.
Probably.
He'll be the next.
I will say they blatantly set it up that they haven't said specifically whether he is bisexual or gay. They left it open ended, and they're not following up with this until like what, 5 months from now or a few months from now. And I think they did that on purpose. I think they're going to end up going with bisexual, and it's just going to be so they can have an out and not get as much ridicule for it when they decide to backtrack. Because at some point, I really think they're going to backtrack.
And honestly, this is the one case where I can see them saying, well, he went on a date, but then he realized, oh, wait, my care for this person wasn't, I was confused on what why I was going out with this person. They can go with that.
Lade Kraber saying, sorry, Felicia and Peter forever. I think he just called you Felicia, Doc. Boom. I like that.
No, he's talking about Black Cat and Peter.
Wow.
He wants
in my headcanon, he just called you Felicia as a great homage to Friday, and I loved it.
Sorry, Felicia.
With it. We've also got the Nihilist. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I was gonna say this to Javade. Marv Wolfman actually created Tim Drake, and he also goes on to say, I hope Tomasi, Venditti, or Williamson takes over Batman after Tynion leaves. I agree with that.
Yeah, this is the difference between creating Tim Drake but making them legit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now let us know you're on YouTube. I think I've seen this guy before.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll get in this kind of creator conversation later when we start talking about rights in films, but it brings up a very interesting subject of, yes, you may not have created the character, but did you establish the character? And I think Chuck Dixon deserves that
legit.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way that Rob Liefeld might have created Deadpool, but Joe Casey really created Deadpool.
Correction, he stole from Deathstroke.
Yes, we all know this, but it doesn't matter.
And didn't create the Deadpool we know now. Shout out to Rob Liefeld. I love him dearly, but let's just keep it all the way funky. The Deadpool that we love now, Rob Liefeld did not create.
Yeah,
I'm just keeping it real, Doc.
Exactly.
Well, that's what Doc was saying. He was agreeing with you, Jermaine.
Yeah, but Doc don't call me strong as me sometimes.
We've got Kenneth Dallin saying, based off of Gervain's comments, Dick Grayson is the iconic Robin, Damian Wayne is the radical Robin, Jason Todd is the outcast, and Tim Drake is the best Robin.
Okay, so I'm gonna say
did he steal the words out of your mouth?
Yeah, pretty much no. Dick, when you talk about Robin, it's
he
like
didn't even mention Stephanie. It's like everyone forgets she exists.
Stephanie.
I love Stephanie. Fuck.
I like Carrie more than Stephanie. You know, I know who Stephanie is.
But Dick Grayson is the Robin that everybody thinks of. He's like the mainstream Robin that if you haven't read a comic like in 50 years, much like if you've never watched wrestling, but everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is, that's who Dick Grayson is when it comes to the Robin. Tim Drake was the best one because it's like up until that, there was the idea of the sidekick being hated or the sidekick being like an add-on. And Tim Drake, that portrayal of Robin changed all of that around. He literally was a Robin that carried a solo title for like more than 100 issues. Never had it before.
Gervais,
now the one thing was,
let me ask you this, Gervais, real quick. Let me ask you this: do you think Dick Grayson could ever be Robin again?
Not anymore. No. There's no need for him because Tim Drake has already established what that role looks like.
Damian.
The only thing they could have done, no, Damian, no. And the thing was, as we've talked about on the channel before, was they had a real opportunity to set Damian up like that. Not only with him and Dick being that Batman Robin combo, which was fantastic, they just didn't commit. And then with the whole Super Sons thing, you could have definitely set up Damian Wayne as the next iconic Robin, specifically because he's freaking Batman's son. But what do we know?
Absolutely. We've also got Wolfstein 3D with the €4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Don't these writers live on Twitter? They should know you don't bait the LGBTQ community and step back. It will be a glorious meltdown if they do. That is absolutely correct. You cannot come back from this because people will threaten to burn down your buildings.
Yeah, but that's why they're gonna go with bi. Like that's the safety net. He can still be bi, but he's only gonna date women.
But I like y'all speaking on this because I always wonder when they do characters like this or when they change their race, how does that advance the story?
That's a good question.
It doesn't do nothing to the story. It's just like Gevian said. It's just there for marketing. It's there for clicks, and you know what I mean. But it does nothing.
I think
And
it.
some-
I think. Oh, go ahead, Kerry.
That's right. Sometimes it feels vindictive, like what they did with Star-Lord,
Yeah.
because they didn't like Chris.
The honestly, what this is this is the equivalent of relaunching with a number one. You do it, you get the initial cheap pops out of it, and then the interest goes back to exactly where it was before, if not lower. And the law of diminishing returns kicks in. Plus, every time they do this, it is less effective. It is less interesting, and less people give a damn. Kerry hit it pretty clearly early on, where she's like, I just thought, whatever. That's the response that most people are getting out of this. They've done it so many times that they want outrage. They want outrage, and they want people going, this is the greatest thing ever. But now they're just getting, whatever. I don't care. You keep doing it.
I'm getting more than that, dog. I'm gonna be honest. As far as all the videos I've ever made, that video specifically talking about the Tim Drake retcon probably has more comments than any video I've ever made.
I think Tim Drake probably has the most fans out of all of those characters that they've done.
Yeah. And it's a shock value thing. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And that's why I think Josh made a good point in terms of like it depends on the person and when they're being introduced to the character. So for, like he said, like someone who this is their first time reading about a Robin and it turns out that he's gay, it doesn't mean anything because there's no history there. There's no that's the first time they've met the character and that's who they are. This is clearly meant to shock and engage the rest of us who've been fans or at least following Tim Drake for at least a decade, if not two now. A decade or two now, and it's just meant to shock us. And I'm with Doc at this point. It's like, hey, dude, do whatever you want at this point. I mean, we all pretty much figure, we all know why you're doing it, how you did it, and how this is going to play out when it's all said and done. And all that's going to happen is you're ruining a perfectly good character that all you needed to do was just leave the character on the shelf until somebody had a real vision for what they wanted to do with the character going forward. But instead,
Drake's been around for 32 years. So.
Yeah. I don't want to tell my age, but anyway, because I still have the Neil Adams poster that came in the first Robin comic and sitting around someplace. It's like the dude has been around a long time. Honestly, and I have to go with Kenneth. I am Dick Grayson till I die, but Drake was it. Drake was it. Drake was he is the, if I'm using the word right, quintessential Robin.
But it's like you said though. Okay, they went with Tim Drake. I feel like Tim Drake is the easiest target because if they would have hit us with Dick Grayson or Jason Todd, I think that would have hit a little bit too hard. And
those
that's why
characters that can carry their own comics with their name. You can't really do a Tim Drake right now. Tim Drake Red Robin. And it isn't going to sell, but a Nightwing and a Red Hood book will still sell. And, it's one of those things, Josh. They don't have the gumption to go and do it with a more established character. Tim Drake's important enough to where it'll make headlines, but not so important that it'll, ruffle any real feathers.
Yeah, I think they kind of squandered the chance of him carrying his own book for the past 10 years, just not knowing what to do with them. And I think if you look at the other Robins, they all have their own legacy outside of quote unquote Robin. Like, Dick Grayson's now Nightwing. Jason Todd is Red Hood. Damian is Bruce's son. And then when you look at Tim Drake, it's like, well, he's Robin. And I think DC thinks that's a negative thing, but I think they're forgetting that part of the reason they even made Tim Drake and the way that they made Tim Drake was to show there is a benefit to having a Robin. And the Batman books were starting, at least for that time, the late 80s, the Batman books were starting to get a little dark. And they realized, like, hey, we need something that is hopeful and heroic, and to remind our Batman to be hopeful and heroic.
And Tim Drake kind of fixed Bruce Wayne. He was,
that's what I'm
falling apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's kind of served as that archetype. Go ahead, Jermaine. Yeah.
No, I was thinking because Tim Drake has gotten a short trip because when you look at all the multimedia versions of him, they're all using the Tim Drake version. They just keep calling him Dick. Whether it's Teen Titans Go, the Batman the animated series. It's clearly that's the Tim Drake character. They just called him Dick because they figure most people know him. But it's like if they wanted to really cement that character and give him real legs, they should just call him Tim Drake and use that version of it when it came out, because that's clearly. Oh man, I hate to say this because now I feel like I'm throwing Dick under the bus. But
Man, don't you do that.
but it's like the simple fact of the matter is that Tim Drake, much like, and I've made this argument before, like Wally West, these are legacy characters making good. These are legacy characters. When you're talking about you're trying to get a new generation of characters to come in, these are characters that have come into their own and have literally become those versions, their Flashes and their Robins for that generation. And this is with Tim Drake, this is just a waste of time. You know,
I actually thought that the one on like the cartoons was Tim. I mean, I never really watched them. I thought that those were Tim.
All right,
no, I thought
they
got
a few super chats we got to catch up with, guys. I'm sorry. We do have Lane Kramer saying, I'm wondering, will they eventually turn Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain gay, even though we have Cade, just so they could have two main heroes in a book? Well, they already do, because you have Harley and Ivy.
Just wait for Tim to run into Connor Kent now. Yeah, they're going to be both bi and hook up, and you're going to have Apollo and the Midnighter 2.0.
Wish you right. I forgot about that Harley and
characters.
I forgot about that Harley and Poison Ivy. Have y'all seen that animated show? That's a good show.
It is a good show.
Yeah.
We've also got Kenneth Dowling. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Fatal Jay. Now you're shouting out Fatal Jay.
Yeah, Kenneth is the man.
I told Wes this before. I'm Bruce Wayne from another world in the multiverse. I donate to the channel courtesy of my company, Wayne Enterprises. Thanks for the love, brother.
You have sent $1 million to this man channel. I believe it.
I believe it.
I want clarification, Kenneth. Are you Bruce Wayne from another world, or are you just one of his products from City of Bruce? Watch Purge.
One of the project, the City of Bruce project. Either way, definitely appreciate all the support from Kenneth Dowling.
Yeah, man. Kenneth is the man. He support my channel too. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Really appreciate it. Ryan Wilson. It's not the fact that he's gay bi, it's how and why they're doing it. Let's be honest. Some people do this out of spite because they know it'll piss people off.
Oh, 100% agreed. Yeah. I don't think they're necessarily doing this out of spite. I think they think they're doing something important and great and good, and I don't think they realize what they're actually doing. But yeah, had they decided they were going to give Tim like an ongoing arc in a book, and this discovery was going to happen slowly, you wouldn't have nearly as much backlash as you're getting now. But the fact that you had so much story happen in between pages and in between books, and when we last saw Tim, he and Stephanie were together and starting to build their life. And then you suddenly move into like, oh, we're broken up, and hey, I'm meeting up with this guy for a date. That's a drastic change.
And they de-aged him about 7-8 years from his early 20s to like 13 or 14, which was really strange creative choice.
Yeah, I think they've struggled with his age ever since the New 52, because he was pretty much in his late teens in the New 52, and when they hit Rebirth, they fast forwarded. I think it was like 4 or 5 years because they wanted to age Damian up, and then now he's reverted back to like, I think, end of high school years going into. They just haven't been consistent. I think the art for these stories makes him look so much younger. And then controversial comment, I don't like the faces that they do with this artist because it's some severe gay face. Just say it. Look, if anyone on the panel can get away with saying it, it's me, and that is some severe gay face.
I want to ask 2 questions though, real quick, real fast. The first question I have: if you took away Dick Grayson, who will be your favorite or most popular Robin? In your opinion?
I think the best Robin in terms of their tenure as a Robin is Tim Drake.
Yes.
And I think it's because overall, I think Dick Grayson as Nightwing presents the best idea of a hero. But as far as someone who's following Bruce's legacy and following Bruce's mission, it is by far Tim Drake. And then I love Damian because, like I say, he's a little shit.
See,
if they had committed, it would have. Yeah, if they had committed, it would have been Damian. If they had committed to the Damian Wayne project, definitely would have been Damian at this point.
Yeah,
my favorite would be Jason Todd, but not as Robin. I like
as Red Hood. Red Hood,
and I like Tim Drake. I'm sorry, Dick Grayson much better as Nightwing now. Anyway,
yeah,
I agree.
He's his own hero. We've also got Everett Todd. This is almost as bad as the time they tried to make Wonder Woman lesbian.
What was that?
The Wonder Woman lesbian thing always made sense to me. She's on an island for hundreds of years. With
that's true.
I felt
All
like
the rest of them are.
Yeah, the movie had a fun little like wink joke at that, and I thought that handled it well, but while also making sense and not being offensive. So yeah, it makes sense for me too.
So that would always kind of made sense to me. We got anybody else? I think we've got all. We're caught up.
I will say Perch is in the comments and said good morning earlier. So good morning, Perch.
What up, Perch?
Good morning, Perch. He is on his way. I think he's driving right now. Thank you so much. I also saw Aaron Sparrow, fresh out of Bell County Comic Con. We were supposed to talk yesterday, but I forgot. I'm sorry.
Y'all been doing good videos, man. Y'all keep up the good work. Sparrow, shout out to you, man.
Absolutely. Love having Aaron on the channel. And hey, if you're enjoying the conversation and you just showed up and you haven't liked the video, definitely like it and share it if you have the opportunity. We're having a great time here. We're going to have some more things to talk about. But let's start to wrap this DC retcon of Tim Drake up. Obviously, I think most people see the writing on the wall that the character likely won't be it will be even less prominent than he has been, and he's too unprominent as it is right now.
To me, it's like y'all said, build it up. Don't just bam, here you go. There you go. He's gay. Just build it up. Build up the story. It's
then they can look, if you take time to actually build it up, they'll start seeing the result in people dropping the book, and the sales will start going down. And they need to do it they need to do it in a shock and awe way.
So they just need to just drop it on everybody.
Yeah, because if they build to it, people will reject it. And
I can see that too. I can see that.
And they'll be forced to change their plan. Because editorial or management will come in and say, I don't care what you want to do. Look, you were shedding readers off this book. Yeah. And now they get, whenever they just do shock and awe, they can blame homophobes.
Now, is Iceman still gay? Is he still gay?
And all he does at this point, Iceman has not done anything in the last 2 years except for occasionally show up, scream at the reader, I'm gay, and vanish again.
Because I remember Iceman, that was like a big deal with everybody when that first came out. That was like a real big deal.
They did the same thing. It was shock and awe, and then they turned him into a stereotype. And then when that didn't sell, they just relegated him to the background. He never shows up except for to yell at you, I'm gay, and then vanish again. He has not really appeared in anything.
Look fabulous in a dress.
Where's the Nala said he never got his super chat read.
I will say I felt like Marvel handled Iceman worse than DC handled Tim Drake, though. I mean, they're both handled poorly, but with Iceman, they had Jean Grey out him, which is just like
I thought you read his. I did
read his.
Niles, did you send another one? Let us know if you sent two of them, because he read your super chat, sir.
As
just
for the
with the
Iceman
thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Hold on, just real quick with the Iceman thing. They also, I think they felt like they had, if they even bothered to check, had a little bit more of a easy target in Iceman because he had so many failed heterosexual relationships. He always so awkward that it must be the reason is because he was gay.
you know what? We only read the first half of the Nihilists with clarifying that Tim was created by Marv Wolfman.
That's the one I read. There was another one.
No. There was a second half to it about Tomasi, Vendetti, or Williamson taking over when Tynion leaves.
Gotcha.
No, I read that.
Oh, I didn't hear
those
that.
are all my dream team.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah, I don't think we really commented on it, but
absolutely. Yeah. But we will get into that here in a couple seconds when we talk about the Batman writer. But what do you think about this? Is Damian Wayne Hit Girl? Hit Girl kills a lot of people. Damian Wayne isn't so murderous anymore, right?
I think anymore is the key word. But look, if you gave me a Damian Wayne and Hit Girl comic book, like 6-issue miniseries where they are just running rampage, I would buy that so fast.
But Damian Wayne made sense being on that motor, trying to kill everybody, and because he was controlled by Ra's al Ghul, and he's 10 years old,
and he died and was resurrected in the last bit.
That makes sense. That made a lot of sense.
Wade Kramer says, "Oh, sorry."
I was just gonna say it's still very much in Damian's nature though, because issue 2, I think, of Robin, where he's like, "Oh, we can kill people and doesn't count. Like, hell yeah. And he starts racking up a body count.
And plus, Damien's suit look dope because everybody wearing these tidy whities all the time. No, we can't do that.
Well, Abe Graver says we need Aaron Darkwing Duck comics. Let's get dangerous. Hopefully that happens.
Ooh, that'd be a dope.
He's working on a few projects. There should be some new Aaron Sparrow comics coming out somewhat soon. What's up, Fatal Jay?
No, I was just saying that's dope. Darkwing Duck. I always like Darkwing Duck.
You ready to get dangerous?
Let's get dangerous.
We've also got Callum Lyle. I'm assuming this is $5 Australian, but I might have that one wrong. Why hasn't Dick married Starfire yet? Fans want that, and it would make people forget what Tamaki did. Well, technically, Dick might be the father of I Am Not Starfire.
Because whenever they get married, it becomes Dick Fire, and that sounds like something that needs fixed with penicillin.
That would be a bad.
Oh my god, that was great.
Now that's funny.
Honestly, I'm and people at Batman News are going to give me crap for this because I always jokingly say Dick and Helena Huntress. But I'm a Dick and Babs. No.
It only makes sense.
That's
perfect.
That's the Helena is the one that you sleep with on the night before the wedding. Starfire is the one that you marry.
Oh, wow.
I did say
get that out of your system.
I did say Babs. I always kind of looked at it as like the relationships of Dick and Babs together is kind of like that high school romance where everything's ideal. And, like your idea of love.
No, you're right.
When they pushed Huntress and they weren't trying to push her as crazy, it was very much like a much more stable, realistic relationship. And I think that's what you kind of got with Corey as well. So he's had a good love life. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, but you're right about him and Babs. Babs is actually more like the true love thing. And Starfire was getting there. I'm just not sure why Marv Wolfman, other than just sales reasons, threw that swerve, because there was no reason for the two of them not to end up hooked up. But you're right. Yeah, Babs is the one that it's for life, and then I won't say Starfire is necessarily a side chick, but Helena definitely is.
But y'all want to know something? And Wes, I know you got to hit this super chat, but y'all want to know something crazy? Robin within the Teen Titans is like really popular with the kids. That's mind blowing that we have got to this level where Robin is that much popular, almost really like on the same level as Batman at this point with the children.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Teen Titans Go is the big product that they have for children, so it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
And that Damien isn't quite as murderous as the one that you get in the DC universe. It's someone that's had to watch a lot of Teen Titans Go stuff with his 6-year-old. We've got Ryan Wilson here. The reason we have these problems is because we have so many different writers on each character with different ideas of who that character are. Absolutely.
Yep.
Doc and I we just made a video about this. It's going to be out on Monday, about how you have all these revolving writers. You never get a consistency of character where you can really execute things long term. Everything is like short burst storytelling.
Yep.
In very decompressed format, unfortunately. We've also got Chuck Skills, Damian Wayne and Hit Girl versus Junior and Trixie from Problem Child. I'm taking
he took it back with that one.
Man, Problem Child's a damn good movie.
It
The
sure
second
is.
one's
Both of them.
Okay.
You didn't like the second one? The second one was good too, though. I thought it was funny how they switched the roles. Remember the mom in the first one? She was the nice lady in the second one.
Absolutely. We got Federico De La Casa with the €5 super chat. The problem is lacking of creativity and zero editor supervision. The people in the 90s that I found bad are Alan Moore compared to Vita Ayala, Didi Howard.
He's right. I mean, even like, your Howard Mackey, who was kind of a very middling nobody writer, is goddamn Alan Moore compared to most of these current writers. And that's not really that far off.
Absolutely. When I go and do the retrospectives, and we do try to zone in on stories that aren't exactly the most well-known, although we've certainly hit on some of those. You're like, man, this is just a completely different level of storytelling as far as utilizing the comic book medium, where you're really getting in there and you're getting a lot of good action, but you're also got all these wonderful subplots, and it's all been put to the wayside, unfortunately.
Yeah, because when you talk about those kind of when you talk about those kind of revamps or reboots that's being, referenced here, talking about Alan Moore. So you talk about what he did with Swamp Thing. It's that he replaced it. It was something that was a middling concept. You know, you can't tell which one's a knockoff Man Thing or Swamp Thing. But the simple fact of the matter is, when he replaced it or rebooted or revamped the character, it was with such a high concept that it's like you almost don't care what Swamp Thing was before that. And I think that's the difference. It's like they're replacing it with something that's substantive, and as opposed to just like, oh, watch this, and I think that's the difference.
If you're just aware of what Swamp Thing is, and you go read Saga of the Swamp Thing, and you finally get the reveal of the real origin of Swamp Thing from Alan Moore, it still blows your mind. What?
Exactly.
How did he think of this?
This is random,
a normal person.
I'm sorry, this is going to be real random, but Josh, you from Texas?
Yeah.
The reason why I said that, I'm from Texas, and Texas is like its own country. So
100%.
So when we first talked before we were live,
Texas is a poor man's Oklahoma.
Whoa.
Oh.
Sir, you can get Okay, Josh, pull out the rifle because I got mine.
That's right.
Mine's in the other room. Not gonna lie.
I'm from New York and I know better than that. But anyway.
All right, so let's wrap this thing up. Does anyone have any final words that they want to say about the retcon of Tim Drake and some of the public outcry?
Where are they going to go with
give a shit.
character?
I think it's just
Another
like
one
Jermaine
bites the
said.
dust.
It's just to get clicks, just to get you clicking on that website to see what's going on. That's about it, though.
Yeah.
Time to head to the Philippines and convince Wes he's wrong. I lived in Texas. My grandpa's from Oklahoma. I'm from Missouri. I'm aware of everything. Poor man's Oklahoma. That's what I got to say about Texas. All right. So we've also got the Substack story came out. They poached Nick Spencer from Spider-Man. They poached James Tynion from Batman. They poached Jonathan Hickman from X-Men. They've also got Chip Zdarsky, Saadin Ahmed, a host of other creators heading over to Substack, kind of giving up these major creators. Gervain, we've been waiting for some type of a market disruptor to finally let DC and Marvel know, hey, you're going to have to up your game. And it feels like, I don't know that Substack's going to work, but this is definitely an eye-opener. With these, you lost to Spider-Man, Batman, and X-Men writers in the matter of a month.
Yeah, and then it'll be interesting because it's almost it's only because you don't have like the kind of mainstream heat from the 90s, but it feels like a writer's version of what happened with Image, where they're doing it the right way. Because before Image, the problem was when like a Jack Kirby or whoever it was would kind of jump to the independent thing, it really didn't make a difference because they would all like kind of piecemeal go out on their own, and it just didn't have the same impact that when Image would happen. It was like the height of the industry, right or wrong. Everybody's eyes were on it, and like definitely the top three guys in the industry, along with a lot of other guys who were just as, if not as hot, were definitely a good like a beeline or a good bench. They all left at the same time, and it just really opened up for everybody the possibilities of what comics could be. And I mean, while this one doesn't have anywhere near the same heat that the Image thing does, what it is doing is showing that you guys got to take care of this talent. And I think it's signaling to everybody who is in the comics industry, whether you're a fan, a customer, or a creator, you got options. You got options now. Marvel and DC are not the only game in town in terms of how you get your work out there. I will give them in terms of marketing, in terms of promotion and stuff like that. You're really not going to beat it because these guys wouldn't be able to make this jump if they didn't have reputations and careers at Marvel and DC. But this idea that Marvel and DC is always going to be the place where they have to basically be working at their desk chained to them, this sends a clear signal. You got options as a creator, and they should take full advantage of it.
They definitely got some sweetheart deals. We did have Callum Lau come back saying, thanks for the answer. For me, it's Dick and Corey forever. Well, thank you very much for the question. I definitely appreciate you supporting the channel. So, Doc, what do you think? We talked about Nick Spencer, and when he went there, all the people in the industry coming out, they started, with their pitchforks, started trying to denigrate him, call him a bad person. And now that we've got all these other established creators, they haven't stopped. They're still attacking these people, saying that they're going to like an alt-right platform and all that kind of stuff.
Look, this is an escape hatch for anybody with talent, and you're not invited. That's why they're mad, because they're not invited. They don't have sales, they don't have talent, and they're not going to generate subscriptions. So they're not getting hired. Substack needs each of, like, I have my own opinions on why this is going to fail eventually, but it has nothing to do with the talent involved. But yeah, they're pissed off because they're not getting an invitation. They had set themselves up as they had infiltrated enough of the industry, set themselves up as essentially tastemakers and the Mean Girls table. And now there's a bunch of people with, that are leaving that have talent and are only bringing either their friends, like Titty Howard, or other people with talent with them to get that work. And the thing is, they can try to coattail ride like Tinny did onto this because she doesn't have sales or talent, but she coattail rode on because she's friends with Hickman. They can coattail ride in, but they're not going to get an invitation on their own. There's no quota that needs to be met here. There's no anything like that, and they can't pressure Substack into that, because Substack's going to say, look, you can sign up and make your own account and get your own subscription service. We're just not fronting you the money because you don't have any sales to back up. The only people that are getting fronted money are the Hickmans, the Spencer, the Tynion, the Scott Snyder, whoever the hell it is. They're the only people getting the front end money. Everybody else, it's they can do it the same way that all the journalists did for the first couple of years that Substack's been around. So they can still do it.
But let me ask you this, Doc. Do you think that these writers have the business sense to pull this off? Because, I listened to the videos that you and Wes did. Do they have the business sense to pull this off, realizing that they're going to get like almost no support from Substack to grow this at all?
I think that the people that are actually involved, the ones that have gotten the money, the ones that have gotten handed front end money on this, they're people that are actually at least relatively business competent. Yeah. They recognize that they're going to have to do the work. Substack is literally just giving them money to fund their own projects, but they're going to have to be their own showrunner. There isn't, if they want an editor, they're going to have to go out and hire an editor. This isn't like working for the big two. You have to go out and hire your own people.
So it's kind of like Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Yes, it is. It's really no different, except for now somebody's funding them up front. It's basically like if I wanted to go out and start my own, like Jeff Johns did at Image, start his own Mad Cave, but then get a venture capital firm to
Mad Ghost
front me the money. Yeah. Or Mad Ghost. Sorry, Mad Cave, Mad Ghost. Mad something or other that starts this. Mad someplace. But yeah, they can, they go out and have to front their own system. They have to, this would be like going and getting venture capital money to do that. And it seems like the people that have gotten that recognize what it is, and they don't seem to be at least completely. Now, Tynion, I don't know what his business sense is. Hickman's used to running projects. Spencer doesn't seem like he's bringing anybody with him yet, but we don't know.
He's got to have artists.
Yeah, he's going to have artists, but he came up through doing indie books with like his Morning Glories or whatever the hell it was. So he knows how to hire his own artist, hire his own editor, hire all that stuff. So that's not really a problem. And I don't know whether or not he got like the big money the same way that it seems like Hickman and Tynion got. But
yeah, they're getting upwards of like 10,000 a month stipends with healthcare stuff that is pretty phenomenal as far as the comic book industry goes. But there's going to be a limited time on that. Did we cover this from Michael Johnson Curry, Tom?
No.
Okay. Before we get to that, I do want to say I forgot to include this in the ticker. If you like Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini, friends of the channel, they are at Heroes and Fantasies today in San Antonio, Texas. If you want to go meet them in person. And in the ticker, I've got a couple of other places that some of the contributors to the channel are on. So if you're in San Antonio, go to Heroes and Fantasies. That was my comic book shop when I was in San Antonio. It's a great place. We do have Michael Johnson Curry here saying, with so many writers being picked up due to their ability to create more properties quicker, will this kill any raise in artist page rates? If anything, I think it might raise the artist page rates.
Yeah.
Because to get an artist off of a Batman or a Spider-Man book, if you want to bring a big name artist with you, and they are getting pretty big stipends, there's probably a good chance that they're going to have to compensate these artists a lot to go and do these new creator-owned projects, or at least give them a portion of like the stakes as far as future earning potentials. What do you think on that one, Gervais? I know you're working with all this stuff yourself right now.
Yeah, no, the thing is that there's an old saying, but it's a true saying, and as a writer myself, it doesn't in any way make my contribution less, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's as simple as that. And the thing is that at the end of the day, it's the art that draws people in. It's the art that can communicate an idea or a story faster than words can sometimes. And for comics, that's where the meat and potatoes is at. It's definitely the art form can be raised by the combination of words and pictures, but at the end of the day, it's the pictures that sell. So if anything, the artist rate page rates are not going to get hit. They actually should be able to command more, because comics is not prose. It's not prose. It's artwork with words attached.
What's also
to
interesting,
it,
not associated with the Substack deal, but I have heard rumors that within the next 6 months, we are going to have some announcements of some artists that are moving away from DC and Marvel, and it's going to like blow your minds. You're not going to believe who's been able to kind of get picked up for some of this creator stuff, and it's going to be game changer. What's up, Gervais?
And just one caveat to what I just said, but even with the artists, they have to be good storytellers. They have to, in and of themselves. Like the mark of, supposedly the high mark of any good artist is, if I read the story, look at the art without the words to it, I should be able to tell what's going on. And so, it doesn't mean just anybody can just, any artist can just command something. If you, even now, the guy reached out and he had shown me some of his artwork, and I said, I like to see the script, because I like to see how you interpreted what the writer wrote. How did you tell that story in pictures? Because that's really what the mark of a great storyteller is. So that's why, much like Doc was saying earlier, it's like this Substack deal is not for everybody. It just isn't. It's just not for everybody. All these things now, it's like you have to be a proven commodity someplace else. And I'm not talking about that whole thing like the Ta-Nehisi Coates thing where you go to a journal in Atlanta, article in the Atlantic, you come over to comics. And I'm saying that in terms of comics, on some level, you either have to really be showing your chops right out the box, or you have had worked at a Marvel and DC and you've proven yourself. So you get this kind of Substack deal. And I think sometimes with new creators or people who just aren't familiar with the industry, that kind of gets lost sometimes. There is an element of paying your dues, if you will.
Wolfstein 3D says they try to squeeze on both ends, charge $5 per book while paying artists poorly to break even of 20,000 units sold instead of growing unit sales.
Yeah, but that's been the status quo for comics for
that's why you see certain artists, they only do the first 3 issues of a run, because after that they know the sales will be so low that they can't afford the page rates and break some decent money on it. So they keep moving them around so they can pump up the sales even more a little bit on the first 3 issues, and you don't get any of these really good long standing runs outside of a couple of artists. It's really disappointing.
So if I could ask, if I could put this to Doc there, because one of my big problem with the industry has been in terms of the number of titles, just the oversaturation. Are they so locked into it numbers wise at this point that they can't do less than 30 titles?
I think, yeah. Because the people, look, there's a lot of books that don't sell. They just don't sell. But they're so used to bowing down to this little tiny vocal minority that screams and cries, because those are the books that are going to get sacrificed, but those are the books that the loudest people on Twitter like. So they're incapable of ignoring that, because they haven't ignored it for the last decade.
Well, plus there's only so much shelf space, right?
Yeah.
And we saw exactly what happened as soon as DC cut down their output, Marvel cut down their output. What happened? Boom, spike in sales on some of the more prominent titles at Image and Boom and some of the other independent comics. So it's a way of shutting out competition, Jermaine.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's a sad state of affairs, because I mean, Jim Lee pretty much said it. He said that half the books, I forgot what he said. I don't want to misquote him, but he was like, at least a quarter of them, they know either we're losing money or not breaking even. And it didn't sound like it was like, well, we tried a book that we thought was quality and we just realized we couldn't find an audience for it. It's just like, we just know we're throwing books out there that really aren't going to sell. So it's like, what are you doing? And if that's the case, and it's just crowding out competition, that's a pretty sad state of affairs. I mean, I've always suspected that, but it's like, really, it's a bunch of nonsense. These guys have to, aren't they making enough money every place else that they could actually put out a line of books that actually, you got 30 books out, they can all do like over 100,000 copies. I mean, is that too much to ask for, much less dream? It's like,
I think from a publishing standpoint too, their business approach is short-sighted, because all the decisions they're making are pretty much to comp the previous year and not look at long-term growth. But if you look at something like Three Jokers, with Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok,
built up to for like 6 years.
Yeah, like that sucker, they're expensive, and thankfully the issue sold well, but that graphic novel is going to continue to sell for years, and I think if they start trying to approach stories of like, can we tell a good story that's going to last, even if you do have an artist that is super expensive, let them do a full like 6 or 7 issue arc. That way you have a solid collection book that you can put out and say like, here you go. And you'll win back your money. But you've got to look beyond just year to year.
Kenneth Allen says, if a company gave you an opportunity to not only create your own work, but give you exclusive rights to it, why wouldn't you jump on? Substack is a logical step in this comic market. It's a logical idea to go and try. I don't know that this is the final solution. I do think putting this many creators behind a paywall individually is going to end up, there's only so many subscriptions that you're going to be able to go to, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, the next step after this would probably be starting combining some of their efforts into like a single subscription, which I think they'll probably get to that within like a year. But absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's only digital comics.
Yeah, this is
now they retain the publishing rights. So Scott Snyder has his Comixology deal where there's 8 new series coming up on Comixology, and they invested a lot of money on them. He retains the right to publish them himself, and he has a deal with Dark Horse to produce the trades of those comics. These creators will be able to put them out physically, and I imagine a lot of them will have a deal with Image or something like that, or perhaps they'll take the Berserker route, go crowdfund some bitch for the first 3 volumes with some special packaging on it. That'll be like really cool, and see if they can hit that $1 million mark that Keanu Reeves is able to do. So they will come out physically eventually, but they are digitally begin with.
I have my doubts on the success rate of most of this. I think we could talk about that probably some other time. But this is the entirely wrong model for comics. And I think it works great for Substack works great for journalists because it's disposable news. It does not work for evergreen serialized entertainment. Sorry.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions too, is like, what's going to stop someone from like, okay, I'll subscribe, 6 months from now when I have a huge library of content to read from this person. Why do I need to subscribe right now? Why can't I just wait? Like, I'm still going to get
because you love the artist and you want to support them, kind of like Patreon.
Oh, agreed. I mean, I understand that, but I think you're going to need more than people that just love the artist. I think you're going to need that general kind of like audience there as well. And that general audience is probably going to opt to, it's what people are doing with HBO Max, or what they were doing with even the DC universe when they had shows. Yeah. Like, they're going to wait till, all of Young Justice was released, and then log in. And, yeah, then binge it for the month, and then like, all right, cancel subscription.
Wes knows when I got HBO Max.
That's right.
I wonder if it has anything to do with Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, that's right.
We've also got Nightmare X123. Do you think because of these deals shift, indie creators can hop onto Substack, gain a leg up on sites like Indiegogo, Subscribestar, or do you think this is name recognition ship only? They're trying to build a platform as something that is a destination for comic creators, because they need to, for Substack to work, they have to continue to grow subscriptions. There's only so much growth available in journalism. Now they're looking over to comic books to grow the subscription base. And they're hoping that if James Tynion, Jonathan Hickman, Nick Spencer are successful, it becomes a destination point where they're not going to have to pay these people. Lesser known creators jump on there, they get their Substack account, they get a paywall themselves. Now they have more subscribers that way. That is the idea behind this. Well, whether it will work, I don't know. I have doubts.
Yeah, no, because at the end of the day, much like you have Craigslist to thank for Substack eventually coming into being, because they can't sell a newspaper, can't sell a classified or ad space to save their lives anymore. It's much like the direct market, because once you have these reductions of these sales channels, now you got to make up that income, because it's like, how do you do that? I mean, subscriptions is one way to do it, but yeah, I'm with Doc. It's like when you're talking about do something serialized, nobody's going to be kicking out that kind of money just to kind of like get almost like the same product in a sense the whole time. It'll be interesting to see how they play it out, how fresh they're going to keep the content. But it's like, it's like with Josh said with the whole HBO Max thing. It's like my plan was to wait till all the supposed feature films were going to come out, and I was going to jump in on that month and just binge watch them. But apparently somebody told HBO Max my plan, and they start putting these 45-day windows on everything. I'm like, what's going on here? This is what I was supposed to work. But yeah, it's the whole idea of, because a lot of even the journalists that I enjoy and I like, I have not subscribed to any of them Substack. It's just like, I'll just catch you when you do your YouTube video promoting your article on Substack. But it's like the whole subscription model in general is just like, it's always a little dicey.
Fatal Jay, I do predict that they are going to find out very quick that gaining new subscribers is not easy. They don't just come and find you. You have to go find them. You have to put out a certain amount of content very frequently if you want to grow whatever it is that you're doing.
That's true.
And that doesn't mean you just get to put out comic books. You have to go out there and let everyone know that you have these comic books. You probably have to do videos talking about the comic books. And maybe you have to do a video like James Tynan's talking about the behind the scenes of 5G at DC Comics.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, but the subscription model has always been tied to the fact that you're using that subscription, particularly cheap subscriptions, as a gateway to get people to pick up the content to make some real money on the back end, which is selling ads. So
Partly, yes. Look, this worked really well for journalists that were talented, but were getting their article rates slashed or getting fewer articles at big media like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, as they were suffering all their loss of subscribers. Because now, if you were a respected journalist, that people would actually buy the newspaper because you were writing for it. Now you didn't have to buy a subscription to the newspaper. You could just buy a subscription to that journalist.
We've got some super chats we need to catch up on, Doc. But we got Federico De La Casa. Image's migration in the 90s was a solid solution. Substack seems like an escape pod for some. More than a solution. Even Kickstarter cannot be the comics future. No, I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's a market disruptor. That's why I'm in favor of it. I just don't think that it's a practical solution.
I think it's a solution not necessarily for Substack, but for the comics industry in general. Because if we look at what Substack has done already, like their approach to recruiting and who they're going to get to write for them is very strategic. They're going after the big names. And you better believe that within the next year to 2 years, anyone that becomes a rising star in DC or Marvel, they're going to come tap. And I promise you, those writers have pitches that they've already done that were rejected, and they've got scripts that are just waiting. So for them, it's an easy answer.
What the freak is Substack, though? Is that like OnlyFans or what?
like
Patreon.
It's like a Patreon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But this is where like Marvel and DC, they're gonna have to get smart. And I mentioned this when we talked about it, Wes. But like DC was kind of stepping away from those exclusive contracts. They're gonna have to rethink that and how they're doing lower page rates. Like they don't want to continuously
writing
like
Batman comes with a commitment.
Yeah, right. You don't want to be the company that every time you build, you don't want to be the company that's building up someone to lose them. And that's what Marvel's being made to look like, and DC. So if this continues for 2 to 3 years, they're going to look like a joke because they can't manage their house.
Yeah, they're going to have to start paying. I mean, there could be, this is a market disruptor, definitely, but kind of the way that, the journalists that could sell papers were really successful on Substack. You're going to see the same thing happening with comic creators, but I think unlike the newspapers, they will actually force the comic industry, the comic publishers, to start axing untalented hacks. Like, if you're not giving us sales, you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's always been the prediction. We'll see if that one happens. We do have Old School Comics says, are we living through the Atlas Shrugged of comics?
For the time being, yeah. And they may be willing to come back once everyone else has cleaned house or once it's all collapsed to the point where they're able to start building on a new foundation, unencumbered.
We've got Kenneth.
Because it'll be interesting to see. Go ahead, Wes.
No, go ahead, Jermaine. What are you saying?
No, I was going to say, because it seems like it's almost what Substack is helping to introduce into this. It's almost like now comic creators sort of become syndicated. And that's what this seems like this is kind of playing out, this new digital version of that. So I think that
they probably only have a year to execute it correctly, though, Gevian, because there's a pool of money that they're borrowing from. Eventually, the pool goes away and the grants are over.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to live on your own.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a gamble. Kenneth Dowling says, I think a way Marvel and DC can stay competitive is to treat their artist writers better. Absolutely. Give creators better deals and maybe give them more creative rights. It may never happen, but it's a thought. They are not going to give them creative rights.
No.
But they can give them some more job security and some better page rates. And I think that's how they're going to be able to be competitive in this market, Josh.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense now with that last super chat. When that guy said the image migration, is that what they trying to do with this right here with Substack? They trying to, they make it better for the writer.
They keep all rights. You don't, even with some of the other indie companies, especially, or even through like when Vertigo was still there, you had to give up some of your rights to DC to publish through them. This one, they're paying you and you get to keep all your rights. So kind of a win-win for the creators.
Gotcha.
It's a short-term play. Yeah, it's a short-term play. It's not a sustainable model.
Yeah, this is absolutely a loss leader.
If this investment in this was successful, and if they can continue to grow subscriptions through comic books, otherwise they'll go on to their next idea to grow Substack. Jeff Stout says, I must be too much of a curmudgeon. If you're not getting a physical product, why support digital only media? It's because you like the creator. It's like supporting a Patreon. That's the way that you should think about this Substack. Or will you get a floppy or trade at the end? Certainly, there are higher levels of support on Substack than just the monthly subscription. There's a yearly fee where you get some prints, you're going to get some autographs, stuff like that. So there's going to be tiers, and you will get some physical stuff. But I almost guarantee if any of these stories are big or they have potential, they will be published in trades eventually. What's up, Jermaine? I'm sorry, Fatal Jay.
Okay, because we're black. I'm messing with you, Wes. Wes, I'm messing with you. I just have a theory in my head. Okay, you know how everybody say Image is like the first guys that blew up hard, independent, and all this. I really think Image wouldn't have blown up if it wasn't for the comic book boom. Yes, their art was the best during that time, but I feel like it was just such a huge demand for comic books that they wasn't going to fail. They
brother.
People thought if they bought this #1 issue right here of Young Bloods or Spawn, they was gonna be millionaires in 10 years. The demand is not really there anymore like that for comic books.
Well,
so,
there's a big speculator boom that's happening right now that we've been talking about.
Okay.
It's not nearly as big as the 90s though.
But I mean,
back in the King Spawn sales.
But I mean, back in the 90s, even like grandma down the street bought a comic book because she thought that was going to be like retirement for her, you know?
And there's no physical product available in this at the moment.
And that is why it's going to fail. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
That is the other half of why it's going to fail. First of all, this is not a model that works for serialized evergreen product. And second, it's not physical. You're going to lose 70% of your audience off the bat. So whoever buys Nick Spencer, whoever buys Jonathan Hickman, 70%, not even going to bother.
And if I could jump on Fatal Jay saying
with us today, nice.
Yeah, about what the 90s was that until people realize the impact that Rob Liefeld Levi's commercial had, you don't understand what the 90s was about. That took it to a whole nother level in terms of people feeling like they were just a hair's breadth away from like, just because you draw comics, I could be on TV or something like that. I could be a celebrity. There was just a whole different vibe to it than this right now. So like even now with these guys that they're bringing on board, it's like nobody. It's kind of like somebody said. Even now, like say a George Perez or a Jim Starlin, something like that. Those names mean almost nothing to the mainstream public. Like almost absolutely nothing to the mainstream public. But back then with Image, there were people like somebody's grandma. They knew who that Rob Liefeld kid was. Or that Todd
you had Easy E. You had Easy E taking pictures with.
Exactly. All right, guys, we got Pros Fiend jumping in here, and this is a Gervain topic if I've ever seen one. For all the hype of Milestone's return, Static has been underwhelming. From the webtoon-like art and Vita writing, all the hype has died for me. What'd you think?
I've been enjoying Static though. I really have. I've been enjoying.
You like the Snyder cut? What am I?
Yeah, I will. You're right. I will say this about Milestone. I can't give them the execution because I would agree about the underwhelming part, but I thought at least in terms of the planning, it made a lot of sense. And particularly with the Static and the hardware book. Because to me, the Static book is like something like for people who read webtoons or that crowd, I think it makes sense to go that way, especially when you have Chris Cross providing. Exactly, yeah. Especially when you have Chris Cross providing the layouts. So that's bringing the old school guys in who love Chris Cross. It's giving some credibility to the work, and it's helping. And I don't remember the artist's name on Static, but it gives that sensibility that's going to appeal to like a Fatal Jay and that sort of webtoons crowd. And then plus Static being a character. And then like with the hardware book, they were kind of doing the same thing. It's like you've got Dennis Cowan who's going to get all those old heads in. Then you got Bill Sienkiewicz who's on that too. It's like marketing wise, it's like they really had a sense of who they were trying to go for with the books. And the only mistake I think they made was that basically with hardware and probably Icon going digital first. That should have been print, because if they were playing that logic all the way through in terms of their marketing strategy, like for me, I'm just going to wait till the print book comes out, but you're not going to get me the digital thing. But for all those people who like that static book and that look, definitely going to do digital, and maybe we'll pick up the print. But it's been underwhelming. No one has been real excited about it. They're going 6 issues, so we'll see what happens. But I agree. Even Icon and Rocket, I didn't pick it up.
The hype is not there. You're right though.
I do want to say thank you to everybody for liking the video. We're at 99 likes already. If we could get over that would be great. Let's break into triple digits.
I forgot to hit the like button. Let me make it 100.
Well, I guess to celebrate that, somebody's saying Fatal Jay's right, even though technically what this message is saying is kind of
Wes hate to hear that, and I love how that sentence started off. Jay is right. When Wes heard that, it was like a
I
rumbling.
Did not start out there. I gave all kinds of precursors and everything to cage it. But he says, I had copies of Image, Valiant, Milestone. Right now, I wanted to buy New Static, but when I saw Vito was writing, I went back to my old static.
Gotcha.
See, Jay, you weren't right. You said you liked the writing.
Well, I don't know. I'm having fun with seeing those old characters back again, you know? They're having a good time. Wes, I know you don't like it because I asked you a few weeks ago, are we going to talk about static on the show? And you're like, man, whatever. You ain't even give it a second thought, man. You always do me like that.
Show, Jay. What do you want me to do?
Man, you always do me like that. Always, are we going to talk about this? No, man, just come on the show, man. I'm like, come on, you're hurting my feelings.
That's going to be a no-go, Jay.
Yeah. And the thing with Milestone is like it's not like you're not seeing that they have anything new to say. So I had just finished Hardware and
you go read Icon and Rocket. It's the same story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, they don't have a vision. They don't have anything. They don't have anything new to say, and it's like, and it doesn't have the novelty that Milestone had when it first came back out in the '90s. So the thing is, they really had to come to this. I mean, when you read the Hardware book, it's pretty much the same Hardware as before. They just got to the point in the first issue of like what his issue was with Alva, but it's like it's not something where you feel like they have repurpose these properties to basically address the issues of today, other than kind of like with the whole Tim Drake thing on a very surface, almost pandering level. It's like, okay, well, now they're going to give his powers at a Black Lives Matter march as opposed to it being a big gang fight. And it's like,
yeah.
I was going to say, to be fair, saying that they don't have anything new to say is a problem with comics in general right now, not just the Milestone books.
Definitely.
Unfortunately.
I tell you what they need to do, have the condom at the
Gosh,
they had the condom on the cover. Remember that? That was a big
deal. Yeah. That's what supposedly sunk Milestone the first time around.
Yeah.
Thank you to the viewers. We're at 128 likes now. Thank you very much. And we've got one dislike. I appreciate you more than everybody else. If you hate the channel but you're still here watching, thank you very much. I appreciate.
I think that was that one dude. That one dude, I seen him in the chat. He said, "Oh, Fatal Jay here. I'm not watching this show today." I was like, "Dang, he left for real."
Just like
he must owe money.
It happens, I guess. Wolfstein 3D says, "That's what I tell my girlfriend as well, honey. That was a great plan. I just messed up the execution." We've all been there, Wolfstein 3D. We can all relate to that one. We've also got Nightmare X123. Why is digital detrimental? I feel like there's been no real attempt to make digital established part of comics.
Okay, I'll take that one. No, it's not that it's detrimental. It's a question of preference. So it's like there's some people who just simply don't prefer to have a digital product. They prefer a physical product, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the digital part. It's just an issue of preference. So my kids are willing to read certain things digitally, and that's just not for me. So that's why I say I differentiated with the static one. I have no problem with that static going digital. That makes sense given the target market they're going for. But for that Hardware crowd, that's for guys who like know Ron Wilson, Trevor Von Eden. And if those names don't mean nothing to you, that's my point. Those guys, they're going to read that book print first. And the other thing I say about digital is
theory. I got to stretch here real quick because I didn't mean to cut you out, but real quick, I just got to stretch. I got a weird theory. I feel like if somebody can crack that code between digital and physical and somehow mash it together, they're going to be the next billionaire in the comic book world.
No. Dude, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be cracked. It's called NFTs, man. That's what it is. It's called blockchain technology. That's what's cracking that joint. They have introduced scarcity into the digital marketplace. It's over. It's just a question now of who's going to get there first. What the product is, and that's one of the things I'm talking about marketing team now, is like, what does the product have to look like? In some sense, you got to future-proof it.
I didn't think about
couple of years out, but NFTs is solved.
NFTs, if somebody can crack that and market that rarity, scarcity, because that's what created the comic book boom. People was thinking, okay, if I get this issue 1, this is going to be scarce, so I'm going to make a lot of money. If you can put that back into the comic book realm, because history always repeats itself. If you can put that back in the comics, somebody's gonna make a lot of money.
Yes, that's 100% correct. The reason why digital doesn't work right now is because there's no urgency, there's no care, there's no value. It's a bad value proposition because you're only looking at your entertainment value and the return on that investment is poor compared to almost all of your other entertainment choices. You know, it's poor compared to Netflix, it's poor compared to video games, it's poor compared to even manga with the digital model. But if you can hit it with NFTs and create a better value there, that's the way to do it.
Wes, we trying to figure out how to make a
$1 million. We gotta start wrapping this up. We got 4 more topics, and we've only got 40 minutes.
Let the man run the show.
Basically, wrap up Substack. Obviously, we could talk about that for 3 hours. It's a game changer. It's a market disruptor. You got the X-Men writer, Batman, Spider-Man. It gets no bigger than that. All poached in a matter of a month. That's absolutely insane. I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. Now let's move to something that we have seen coming, and I made a video on this one. I was surprised at how many people they don't support the comic creators that maybe created a character, redefined a character, created a story that had been adapted into a movie that has generated, upwards of $1 billion. They think, well, that $5,000 in a thank you note was more than enough. They signed on the dotted line. Me personally, I think it's a big deal. Kerry, I know. Is this something that you think the comic creators is this a reason people are moving to Substack? Because they can see how you're basically going to get hosed over if you're at DC and Marvel. You create something great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because there have been artists prior who've had better deals when it comes to movies, and now just to get stuck with 5,000, the movie's making $1 billion. Why would you want to stick around if you're not going to get in on that money?
I'm sorry, I was answering a question from Max Santiago. He wants to know what's an NFT. I have a 1-hour discussion from a guy that worked at a blockchain factory that explains exactly what an NFT is and how it kind of jumps into comic books. So definitely check out that video if you really want to get an update on what an NFT is.
Well, Method Man, real quick, Method Man just put out a comic book NFT and it's doing real good. And it's connected to his album. I don't know the full details of it, but it made news last week if y'all guys want to check it out after this stream.
Absolutely. After jumping off of here to go read off on Method Man. What do you think about this stuff, Josh? I know you're within the industry. You see so many people making a lot of money. We know there's a discrepancy between compensation versus Marvel versus DC. Marvel notoriously not thanking people enough via monetary means, whereas DC is a little bit more thankful, but it feels like there's definitely some resentment among creators. We heard Ed Brubaker say it makes his stomach turn that he ended up creating Winter Soldier and he gets essentially no reward for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we kind of praise DC a little bit for paying better, but they both kind of are crappy towards their writers and even their artists in terms of what gets made into film or television. I mentioned this earlier. I think a lot of this breaks down to within the industry, and I think creators should get their due, but I think within the industry of comics themselves, you have to find a way of, it almost becomes a game of what percentage did you do for this character that is then being used for this project. If you created the character as a whole, you need to get some type of recognition. But then we talked about earlier how Chuck Dixon pretty much made Robin or Tim Drake Robin what Tim Drake is. So I would almost venture to say he has more of a weight in that respect. I think what it really comes down to is you almost have to just set like a percentage that you would offer the creators that they get. And then I think it would look different if you've got a film like Winter Soldier and you're going to cite someone as story for the film, they should be getting more money than what they're getting. Because if I were to go write a film script, and I have a history in writing for film and television, if you go write a film script, so much of the work is already done for you at that point. You're just connecting the dots and making some adjustments there to take it from one medium to the next. But the groundwork is laid for you, and that's often the hardest thing that you have to do as a writer. So I definitely think they need to get more how that goes about. I mean, that's for the companies to decipher, but I think it's going to be the same way. You're going to see a slow uprising of people speaking to this, kind of like when you saw back in 2007 what led to the writer's strike of people weren't getting their dues for digital sales or DVD sales, and you're gonna see more people take issue, more people take action. Or you're just gonna lose the people that are creating good IP for you, which is what we're seeing with Substack. So it's a loaded question. And something else we could probably spend an hour talking about, but that's a generalization for you.
Here's an interesting point. And Everett Todd, friend of the channel, he came in, and this is essentially his comment. He said, Winter Soldier isn't an original character. That's Bucky Barnes. That's not really Bucky. That it is a completely different version of Bucky that revolutionized the character, brought him into modern comics.
It's still Bucky, though. It's still really Bucky.
Go read old Bucky before he died.
There's Dick Grayson. It's like Dick Grayson Nightwing. Dick Grayson Robin. It's the same dude.
What are you talking about? He was alive and decided he was Nightwing and became that character. Bucky died and was resurrected, as Winter Soldier, and they had all this enormous backstory, and he came back as a completely different character where he's assassinating people.
Yeah, but his first and second name is not Winter Soldier. It's Bucky Barnes, sir. That's all I have to say.
That's what I'm debating here, David Jay. That's why I threw it to Doc. I knew you were just going to filibuster my ass. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a derivative character. And now there's the question.
Game changer.
It is
a character.
But that's not something that can be objectively determined. You can't put the line between how much did you change if it's still the same character. There's no way to establish that line in the sand between where is it the old character and where is it the new character if it's still the same character. Like now, if they show, for instance, okay, let's say Tim Drake. Say they put Tim Drake in a movie, but he's straight in there. Does this new chick not get any money? And the old guy does. But if he's gay, does the creator not get any money? And this chick that turned him gay, does she get the money now? That's where it comes in. There's no clear deviating point where the significant change in the character, no matter how severe it is. I mean, you and I can look at it and be like, yes, that Bucky is not the Bucky from 1940s. Definitely not even close. The Winter Soldier is a completely different character, but because it's the same character, there's no way to really do it. Like, same with, you can think of other character, Kid Cable versus Real Cable, Superboy and Superman. Where is the line between where this character was before you touched it and where is it afterwards? When it's a very, very sharp disparity between the two, you could tell very easily. But when it's not a clear, and defined, you can't really say, yes, this is a whole new character. And they have to establish legally, they have to establish that point. But there's no way to determine that. So they just write it off as
here's the rub. If you don't reward these people for doing great work at your company and doing groundbreaking work and making new versions of these characters and stories that bring them into modern times, Gevian, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't reward them, they go and they go to Substack. And they leave you hanging.
But Doc is making a very good point, and this is why publishers don't want to give creators rights in the first place. Because the thing is that there's a difference between creators' rights, copyrights, trademarks, and fan sentiment. And the simple fact of the matter is, if we were to say, okay, the guys, Winter Soldier was a hit, we should reward the creators, then you're talking about basically Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. That's what you're talking about. You're not talking about a group breaker unless you create like a pool of creators.
Now, when you utilize,
but you still have to. Yeah,
well,
that's clear.
Don't give the estates of Jack Kirby any due or compensation.
No,
but the person that did the story deserves it too.
Well, I'm not saying that either. But this is now going to go to basically what I've always said about DC and Marvel is that they're just myopic. And I think this is one of the cool things, and I'm going to bring back the NFT blockchain thing when we talk about smart contracts, which watch the video. But we are getting to a point now technology-wise where you should be able to, in some sense, delineate these rights using code to make sure that everybody in a sense gets their due for their contribution to an IP. Because you can say, here's the Captain America IP. And we know that Jack Kirby, Joe Simon created originally. Roger Stern and John Byrne, because we decided that they did a great contribution in terms of a run to Captain America that blew the character up. We're going to add them. We're going to upgrade the coded contract and give them a cut. Then, Brubaker and Steve Epting come along, and this is what they did. You can do that stuff. It's just that it wasn't very efficient. And then when you're talking about doling this stuff out legally because of the whole precedent issue, and I think it's to Doc's point, you establish something over here that opens up all this other legal stuff, and hey, I should be compensated over there, and nobody wants to deal with that. That's way too many lawyers involved, way too much money, way too much time. And there may be a solution to that in terms of which termed in NFTs and blockchain as smart contracts to solve that issue. But that's precisely yeah, go ahead, Doc. Yeah.
No, that's exactly the point. That's the exact point that I was making. Especially when you're dealing with characters like this that have had 50, 60, 80 years of history behind them, determining who gets a cut and who doesn't when they're all built on top of each other is much more difficult. Now, it's easy when it's a Todd McFarlane or Robert Kirkman owning Invincible. He wrote every single issue. You can, and he gets a part. His, Corey Walker gets a part, and Ryan Otley get a part. That's it. You're done. But with you'd have how much of Bucky from Brubaker? How do you determine what percentage of that character is that person?
How do you determine the value that he brought to the Winter Soldier story, the movie that generated, I think, $740 million? Yeah, the character also was heavily featured in the next Avengers films. Also, his own streaming show, which likely
look here. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all know those Marvel bastard lawyers have already figured out how to do those people dirty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they gave him $5,000 and a thank you.
Yeah,
that's it. A special thanks at the end of the movie, at the very end when everybody is not even caring about the credits.
That you have to pay your own way on.
Yeah,
I think just look at the Miracle Man situation. Just look at that and what happened. That's when people were doing things. Creators were doing the right thing by each other. Where Alan Moore was like, "Look, I think hey, you did a great job doing this. Here's my cut." And they still couldn't work that joint out.
Yes, Josh, you were about to jump in there. You said you worked on television and film.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like what Gevian and Doc were saying is absolutely right in terms of characters. If you're trying to give credit based on a character, especially in comics, it gets really muddy. But I think when you get down to actual stories, like if you're taking story arcs and then transitioning them, that's where the companies need to actually have something in place that they're going to provide like a percentage of the take, because you're literally taking the full product or a good chunk of the product. And then it's not as muddy, and you can find like 3, 4, 5 creators. Like, okay, these people actually played a part in us building this. At the same
Josh,
time,
let me ask you something though, real quick. If I sign to Marvel and I create Toilet Bowl Man, don't you think I already know in my head this is not my character anymore? Why would I be trying to fight over this character when Marvel
but 30
have
years
already?
Ago, you might not have known that Toilet Bowl Man was going to make a $1 billion movie. You didn't even know that was possible.
But we already got it made up in our minds that Marvel owns every single thing you create. Am I right or wrong?
No. Okay, so you're wrong. You're wrong.
Hold on. Go ahead, Josh. I was going to say my point too is like a lot of most of your current writers know that as far as creating new characters go, there's not any benefit for them for writing those for the big two. But when you're writing scripts, you did get like story credits, and if you're going to take something like Winter Soldier, then he should be getting a story credit for that film because he crafted that story, and then they pulled that story. It's the same thing as when you convert like any other book. If you take a novel, if you take a novel, even when you go to awards, they have,
you usually get a producer credit too.
Well, debatable.
Sometimes.
Depends on the ride.
Yeah. But like as far as story by, like you should be getting that credit. And that's something that the big two and then even Disney and Warner Brothers should also be looking out. And if they're not going to, that's where you would hope that the writers, so for instance, Marcus McFeely, if I were them, like they're definitely getting a good paycheck. So if I were them, I would say like, hey, this isn't right. We should be giving these guys some sort of credit here, because he's not even credited for a story on the film.
And my whole point is, just because they don't have to give him money.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it behoove them and their image and to be able to court and bring in the best creators possible to go out there and be a little bit generous of what is a pretty big take? It's not going to take a whole lot of money. But $5,000 is scraps in comparison to the haul that was brought on by Winter Soldier and all these other stories that were brought in. We do have Kenneth Dowling here. He says a recent example of a creator receiving his just due in TV and film is Robert Kirkman with the Invincible cartoon and Amazon selling the comics on their platform. There you go, synergizing, working together to help each other rise up.
But see, that's a tad bit different though, because Kirkman owns a part of Image, right?
No, but Kirkman,
he's an exec.
But Kirkman had the courage to basically do that, to take the risk, to own that, go through the Image process, because it ain't like Image was giving him money up front to do that. He put a lot of his time and his money on the line to reap this kind of benefit. And I think, like you guys were saying before, when our writers or creators walking in and not realizing they don't own this, it's like, look, this is going to require a shift in the creator mentality. They have to realize, look, if the Beatles weren't a big enough lesson yet, if TLC wasn't a big enough lesson yet,
good
it's the simple fact of the matter is you need to own on some level what you're producing for people. Because creators cannot continue to go, well, you know what, I'm going to give Marvel and DC this idea because I don't know if it's going to turn into something 50 years from now. I'd rather have them. I'd rather have the money up front or something like that. It's like, no, if your idea is not a dime a dozen, you don't think it is, you're going to have to start demanding that up front. And now, are you working in the industry where they're like, look here, buddy, if you don't want to take this deal, I got 10 other guys lined up behind you to do that. That's why it's going to require, and it probably won't happen, a large shift for the creators to realize I'm not giving away my intellectual property for these nonsense deals when I know that even though it's like maybe every 1 in 100 will pop, but if you're that 1 in 100 that pops, then you're giving away the farm for nothing. But it's got to require.
Doesn't it feel like we're already there, where we're maybe not getting the best ideas? We're getting the repeats of stories that happened 20 years ago, and the least interesting versions of the characters. That seems to be more the norm in comic books right now than not.
Yeah. I also feel that DC and Marvel specifically have this attitude of you're going to buy our books no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that
I have an entire video on that one. I appreciate you plugging that one. It's called "Comic Books Should Be Entitled." You'll be seeing that one, I believe, on tomorrow or Monday. That was a really good cover. Well, it's a solo video, but it's mostly at rant. We've also got You Murdered That Guy with $5 Canadian. Thank you for supporting us north of the border. This highlights a problem with expressing the value of a sacred thing, a story, with a profane thing, money.
Well, I think, you know what, Kerry, I have a question for you because you haven't really weighed in much on this.
Sure.
What do you think? I mean, do you think is this the reason why you're getting so many poor stories out of the big two? Because they're recognizing they're not going to get paid, so they're giving them their Z list, the stuff that would be left on the cutting room floor of whatever creator owned they're doing.
Well, I think that's part of it, and I also think it's the hiring process that they're hiring people at a lower amount who don't have as much talent as you can get. Because I feel like a lot of writing in comic books is not up to par where it could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think as far as quality in comics right now, there's a lot of things playing into it. I think that does play into it. I think a lack of consistency for direction plays into it. Too much editorial interference plays into it. And not even like you can and you can't do this, but like, hey, like we've agreed we're going to move this direction with this story. And then 3 to 4 issues into you creating that arc, they decide they change their mind and they want to alter it. And I've had multiple creators that are currently writing for the big two right now come to me and kind of like, complain about having to deal with that. Sometimes having like a 2-day window to try to rewrite one of their issues to get it so the artist can do it because the editorial changed their mind on how they wanted the book to end. And it's major books. So when you put people in situations like that, you're not going to get a successful product.
Absolutely. Michael Johnson Curry Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Love you guys, but this isn't 30 years ago when Kirby and others were tricked. No one forced them to sign contracts to transaction using the publisher to build yourself to break off on your own. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's not even-
They're more generous.
That's not even.
but
They
we're
weren't
gonna
tricked.
continuously leave.
They weren't tricked. They
They
weren't
were not
tricked then. This is
That's what I'm
commercial
saying. That was my
art.
whole point.
It's
They weren't
exactly.
tricked.
It's a transaction. It's like even Stan Lee did not think that comics were the place he wanted to be. He wanted to go be a novelist. All that happened was they realized back then, because I've heard creators tell me about this who have spoken to some of the guys that we're invoking here, where they saw back then, even when they were doing that little Marvel animation show, they saw the implications of these guys taking their artwork and using it in multiple media outside of comics. Yeah. This is not new. What was is that you just have industry dynamics where basically it's like, well, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And now that's why the only difference now is that the creators who've come up in the last 10 to 15 years, you can't claim the limitations of a Kirby or Beatles or a TLC or wherever it is, because you have more options. Kirkman is an example of that. And Kirkman has said it on many occasions. You guys got to start thinking about this different. You got to start thinking about this different. These guys are not the only game in town anymore.
Yeah, like
Rodrigo de la Casa kind of chimes in on that. Kirkman risked, as Image founders risked at the time, most lesser creators at Image. They have to pay probably some fee to be published. Absolutely. And Kirkman did too at first. And then when his series blew up, and now he's an executive there.
He decided to dip out and continue betting on himself.
You hear him talk about Marvel, it was not fun for him.
Yeah, when Kirby was doing all that work, he didn't have the option. There wasn't a venue out there available to him to go bet on himself. It didn't really exist. It didn't really exist until the 80s when the indie boom hit. He could have left comics and just become like a marketing artist, like, doing storyboards for an ad agency or something. Sure. I mean, that's why Marvel was on Madison Avenue at the time. But he could have done that, but if he wanted to keep drawing comic books, that was his choice. He could work at Marvel, he could work at DC. That was it.
Because we talk about Superman and Shigo and Schuster, because I'm answering a comment from, I think it's BC here about Businessman. Then explain Bob Kane.
Yeah.
Well, his dad was a lawyer.
Okay, but the simple fact of the matter is his dad wasn't the only lawyer in the history of the world to explain Bob Kane, because I know he looked out. He said to look, you see the Superman thing, and you saw what Shiga and Schuster signed. He said, at least go in there and get 1% or whatever it is. So the idea that of these superheroes of comics being extrapolated or licensed or merchants in other media and it being a gold mine wasn't something that just came up 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. It's been there since the beginning of this particular iteration of the industry. Now, somebody's saying Bill Finger got screwed. He absolutely got screwed because he was dealing with that shark, Bob Kane. But Bob Kane had a bunch of people who were ghostwriting for him and ghost drawing for him and everything else. I'm not saying it's right. What I'm saying is that at some point, creators at large have to realize the value of their talent and their work, and they have to operate from there. You have to realize that, because other than that, will people take advantage of it? Absolutely.
Yes, they will.
All right, guys, we got to move on to the next topic. We've got 3 more to get through. We're going to be running a little long.
Man, these have been some great topics, though, man.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We got some hot stuff. It's been hot and heavy in here. We've got new DC Comics. The solicitations came out. These are kind of the 5 big new comics that we've got. We got Robin and Batman. Emphasis on the Robin. It's going to be like a Robin and Batman year 1. The early dynamics of the team. We've got Justice League, or it's not Justice League. It's Dark Knights of Steel, kind of like the Justice League in Game of Thrones times. We've also got Justice League Incarnate rolling out of Infinite Frontier from Joshua Williamson. We've got the Robin series, which absolutely destroyed the Round Robin tournament with Tim Seeley at the head. And then we also have a new Wonder Woman Evolution series coming out. All right, Kerry, which one of these series do you think is a winner? Which one's a loser? Which one do you go into your comic shop for?
Probably the Batman and Robin.
It's Robin and Batman.
Yeah, Batman and Robin.
As for me, I'm interested in that Game of Thrones type thing, because I always like when they take the characters and put them in different times. Like it was It was a Superman samurai comic book that came out years ago. I loved that comic book. And it was just basically the same Superman story, but it put him back in samurai ninja times. And you know I'm a sucker for ninja stuff, so I'm looking forward to that type of thing.
Absolutely. Dark Knights of Steel actually sounds pretty good. Obviously, Tom Taylor is one of the bigger names. It's kind of weird. I heard that maybe he was going to Substack, but apparently that's not correct.
No,
what are you
because
looking forward
sell.
to about Robin and Batman? Are you looking for the year one aspects? Obviously, they kind of covered it in a Dark Victory, but
I didn't get to read Dark Victory, but I do like the year one aspects. I know I did.
Have you read Long Halloween?
Yes.
Go read Dark Victory. It's the sequel, and
Okay.
Dick Grayson shows up, and it's like them two in the very first days as a team together. Absolutely fantastic. You'll
Not the
love that.
segue, but have anybody seen the Long Halloween animated?
There's no
I-
segue
no,
to have,
I-
Jay. That's not a topic. What are you doing?
Well, I'm just saying. I just want to say it's dope. It's amazing how they did that. I don't like the animation, but the story they did it spot on. So people check that out too.
Is it better than
Absolutely.
the Killing Joke?
Sorry for
We got late
Yeah,
favors
better
saying
than the Killer
DC
Joke,
Comics
yeah.
November. I'm Batman. No, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. My name is Batman. Batman is my name-o. 53 Batman-led comic books in November. Obviously, there's going to be solicitations video up on the channel tomorrow. And you might want to, I might have a little sarcasm going on that one. It's a lot of Batman, Josh. You are the Batman guy from BatmanNews.com. Is it too much Batman?
Hell yeah, it's too much Batman. I have a full-time job. That's way too much to try to cover.
We're
at the
doing this
website.
week at Batman. How are we going to be able to do it? It's going to have to be 3 segments.
No, you
every
made the joke in one of your videos about how it's gonna have to be today in Batman, and like, dude, that is so spot on. There's way too much. It's oversaturation. I get there's multiple versions of the characters, but DC needs to realize they're also gonna burn out their stories. Like, you know, you could have an arsenal of work that you could just hold and set back and slowly release over time, and then you wouldn't have to worry about rushing or, you know, deadlines or getting behind. But this is just way too much upfront. And then also you have to differentiate, like, okay, say you do like Batman. Which Batman should I get? Because I can only afford to buy 8 of these. So which of these 53 should I buy? It's way too much. That being said, I'm a little excited about Tom Taylor's book and even Robin and Batman. I'll always take a early Dick Grayson story.
Yeah.
You know that George R.R. Martin pitched like a Red Wedding in the DC universe, and he got turned down, right?
Yeah.
To Paul Levitz. Then when Dan
Wow,
Didio
really?
saw the pitch, he called in George R.R. Martin. They tried to redo it because it was too bloody. You can't kill that many DC heroes in one story, apparently.
Oh,
And it
Well,
kind of ended up
well,
sucking, but
I feel like that's changed now. I mean, we've seen,
Yeah.
you know, what they did deceased. And then are we really surprised that Levitz turned it down, who had a hopeful DC universe, and then Didio was interested, who wanted to make everything as dark and grim as possible? No.
he went to his desk for all the projects that could have been promising that would turn down, and that was one of the ones that he talked about.
But you said George R.R. Martin was going to be a part of that, or just similar to
Yeah,
the
he's written
Red?
comic books in the past before he blew up.
And
with,
I love when those
Song of
big
Ice and Fire.
writers like that go to comics because they make the best stories.
Yeah, he was.
What's that dude named Krasinski that did this comic book called Rising Stars? Have y'all ever read that
My-
comic book?
J.
Oh, yeah,
Michael
that's a great book.
Straczynski, he was a television guy, though.
Yeah, but that dude can write his butt off. Oh man, I love when they do that.
Yeah, he also wrote Spider-Man for a long time.
Yeah,
Yep,
He also wrote
Thunder-
One More Day.
that dude is dope.
that one. Thunderbolt Vintage
Yeah,
says
we-
Tim Drake looked better with the cowl. New 52 destroyed the character a decade ago. DC is embarrassing. Haven't purchased a mainstream comics since 2015. That's one hell of a
Hey.
hiatus. I hear from a lot of people that are exactly in that
Yeah.
same situation. But if
Yeah.
you're going to pick one of them up, pick up Dark Knights of Steel. That actually looks cool.
It looks cool.
It look cool. It look cool. Yeah.
All right, Gervais, which one are you going for? I know you have a limit on what you're willing to spend. A couple of those were $6 number ones, so those are off the table. Which ones are you investing in?
I'm out. I mean, first of all, I was like, that whole ridiculous tour in the first place, I didn't pay attention. So I go with the group and say, I guess if I had to go with one, I guess Dark Knights of Steel. But if
That was
Dark
only
Knights of
$4.
Steel is $5, all right, then I'll do that one. Dark Knights of
Yeah.
Steel.
As long as you don't get the card stock cover, it's $4.
Yeah. I will say out of the 3 new titles that they introduced, 2 of them look like they could definitely be promising because the talent behind them are quality talent. And then this whole Batman Shadows of the Bat. Like, dude, how many times are we going to do a story where Bruce Wayne has to step away from being Batman? Like, it's been done. It's been done way too many times in the past 10 years. Like, move on.
Absolutely. All right, Doc, you are the Marvel aficionado. I sent you the links. Which one of these are you checking out? I know you do like Batman. You dip your toe into the Batman well every once in a while.
I do, and none of these appeal to me. Sorry. None of them. I mean,
I can grouchy son of a bitch.
I can read the Tom Taylor one if I want to just laugh at how bad it is.
You didn't read Deceased. You have no idea what you're missing.
I don't give a fuck.
He ruined one character that you liked.
He ruins everything eventually when he doesn't have an editor.
Deceased has been phenomenal.
You're already starting to look at what he's doing on Superman. You're already seeing him with less editorial oversight. That's what you'll end up with. You saw him unencumbered by editorial before. You're going to get him unencumbered by editorial at DC eventually, and I'm betting it's going to happen on this.
We shall see. Interesting stuff. Definitely show up on the channel tomorrow. It should be at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and I'll do my entire DC Comics solicitations video, mostly talking about Batman because it is over half the line. It's absolutely insane. Let's move on to this other big story. This one was crazy. Kind of came out of nowhere. King Spawn orders. It says King Spawn. I'm sorry. I need to respell that. It should say King Spawn. It's actually sold. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna fix it right now.
It's King Spawn. It's already out. It's already out, right?
No. They just hit FOC.
Then what is people talking about? Is selling 500K then?
Because they had FOC, which is when you have to get your orders in, Jay, to get them.
Okay. I see. Sometimes I don't think that far, West. Okay,
that's what I'm here for.
Ignorant, man.
They had 500,000 orders on the back of this idea, Doc, where they have this 1 in 250 variant that is signed and CGC graded from day one by Todd McFarlane. I estimated that it was going to be 1,200 issues or more of this. It turns out there's actually 1,700. We know this from Todd McFarlane himself.
Yeah, he's signing 1,678.
1,700 copies that are all going to be like 9.8 graded and signed.
Well,
they're never going to be.
They're not actually graded. You just get a certificate so that if you want to send them for grading, it proves that they were witnessed. So you'll get a yellow label instead of a green label.
I've got you.
So it could be less than, we know how Diamond packs stuff. So they could still damage the shit out of these books in the shipping. And you might end up with a lot of 9.0s, 9.4s, 9.2s as a result. But they are less likely because they're actually going to get bagged and bordered instead of just randomly thrown in with a Funko Pop and something else that makes it not a flat surface, like Diamond has a tendency of doing.
All right, Doc, we got Zook's Pop Culture.
What up, Zook?
I'm glad you guys have come back. I know you've been busy lately. We're out. Stop stocking floppies in our new store. Have seen takings and profits rise. I refuse to continue to stock expensive, poor quality books.
Good. Them nice people across the pond decided to do it. They did a smart. That's a good call.
I'm going to say that they did not get the 1 in 250 variant of King Spawn number 1.
No, I am going to bet that they did not. But that is, look, hey, it's a great marketing tool. It's a great marketing gimmick.
It worked.
It does.
They generated 300,000 sales that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now
so people are going to take notes from this right here. They're going to take notes.
Yeah, and then they're going to overdo it. And
then it'll be whack.
About this bubble that we've got going on with the speculator market.
Yep.
And it's going to get bigger.
Now, why is Todd drawing this? Is he drawing this?
No, he wrote it.
He did a cover, I think.
But he's signing it. Yeah.
He's
signing.
Okay, so who doing the art? Do anybody know?
Off the top of my head,
make me do work. I can't remember who the artist is. I'll get it. Keep talking.
Okay.
But look, this is basically him copying David Gabriel's plan for the last 5 years, which has been Marvel's only marketing plan, except for he added in an extra thing at the end where it was already pre-signed and it already had the certificate so that you can get it graded. Now you still gonna have to pay the grading price. These they don't cover. They're covering that. You can't just send it in and they're going to grade it for you. So you still have to send it in for grading. Now that's up to the stores.
So artists: Todd McFarlane, Javier Fernandez, Brett Booth, Steven Segovia, Marcio Takara, and Philip Tan.
Brett Booth, sign me up.
And Philip Tan.
Philip Tan. Yeah.
There's going to be damage on some of these. But here's the thing: while they say there's 1,678, they're overprint by at least 10%. So now you're looking at almost 18 or almost 1,900. And whenever they're doing these, they print at minimum to the nearest case pack, which is in units of 250. So now you're looking at least 2,000 copies. There's going to be 2,000 copies of this thing that exist.
Not going to be all that rare.
No.
And definitely thank you to Zook's Pop Culture. We really appreciate it. And Doc is not going to try and start a war with the UK today, and I appreciate that. We got Darth Bobcat. It's King Spawn because Marvel and DC already peed themselves out of tear, and there was no pee left. There you go. King Spawn. Very good. Way to take my dumbassery and make it into a positive. I appreciate it.
Love McFarlane, just the creativity of this. That like Trey said, this creates hype. This is what you should do with your book. He
saw the market. There was a way to exploit it, and he did. It's a job well done.
Yeah, I mean, good on him. That's a great move on his part.
This is the second highest selling comic book since Star Wars #1 went over 1 million, behind Berserker #1, which had a similar scheme where if you got the 1 in 1,000, it was signed by Keanu Reeves.
I've always had a special fondness of Rob Liefeld and McFarlane because it seem like they know how to put a fire under the comic book community. They know how to use different tactics and strategies to get people hyped up. I always love those guys.
They're great hype men for comics.
I'm more looking forward to Gunslinger Spawn, though. That one's the one that's going to be.
I like that Spawn too, Gunslinger Spawn. That's my favorite one. Yeah.
What do you think about this, Josh? Is this healthy? This good news?
I don't think it's healthy because I think it's a false positive. I think it's going to be good for now, but I think the long term you're going to see negative aspects of this. I think you're going to see more and more creators and publishers try to do this. And I think you're going to see a lot of comic shops who are going to be the ones like footing the bill for this pretty much, not opting to go for these variants because it's not worth it. Or if they've got a customer that desperately wants it, they're going to be like, cool, well, you're footing the bill. So I have to order this many. You're paying for this many so you can get this one.
Yeah, that's why they're charging $500 for the 1 in 250.
Yep. I don't think there's long-term growth. I think when people realize that these comics aren't going to be worth as much as they think they are, you'll see it fall off again as well. So
it's going to be like the 90s bubble.
Yeah.
Comics himself said he ordered 1,000 copies because he had 4 customers said they wanted the 1 in 250. So he went and ordered 1,000 copies of this comic, knowing he could only sell 200 of them.
But
can we just
as long as he covers his cost by selling the 4 copies of the 250 and the 1 in 1,000, he will cover his costs, and the rest of them he can turn into fucking.
It's a shell game, Doc.
Yep,
it's a shell game.
Can we just keep it real though? Okay, McFarlane, people like McFarlane, you got millions of your comic books out there. Your stuff is not going to be worth nothing in the future. The only reason why comics is worth something is because of the golden age, right? Because most of those comic books got destroyed back in the day.
Yeah, they're not produced as much
importance, like the importance of the story or the character, like that maybe they debuted, and the rarity are what determine kind of.
But when you look at people like Jim Lee, yes, they're incredible artists, but they got millions of their books out there.
They're overprinted.
Yeah. How really worth? How much is it really you're going to get it for? It's not going to be much.
Willing to spend a lot of money on ASM 300, even though there's a lot of copies.
Yeah. Look, there's the Spider-Man #1, X-Men #1, X-Force #1. There's millions and millions of copies, and there's a reason why you find them littering the dollar bins throughout the planet.
Yeah,
but they still sell. They'll get passed around. They'll They move in and out of collections. Now, the A cover on this is going to be fucking worthless. We all know that. You'll be able to find it in dollar bins in a couple months, in probably a month.
It won't take that long.
It's all about what they can get from the 1 in 250s, the 1 in 1000s, and covering their costs from that. That's all that matters. I mean, but it's going to be, as Josh said, it's going to be overdone. It's, people are going to, if you have a good idea, don't use it sparingly. Do it until it stops working. That's the comic industry motto.
My cousin Ryan says I give it 23 days. Oh man, that's his puppy Boston.
What up, Ryan?
Dog too. Ryan is a good guy. I believe he's still in Texas. He was in Detroit. I think.
He's in the greatest state. No disrespect to nobody else.
Greatest
state. He's in Dallas.
We the only state that had a president, sir. Okay, just remember that.
There's been more than one president from other states in Texas, man.
No, I think he meant because Texas was its own country.
Yes, it had its own president, not United States president, Texas president. Yeah,
I think you could say Virginia had its own president too.
Really?
Yeah, there was that whole Civil War thing.
Confederacy.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
But regardless, this is going to get overdone.
I sent my cousin Ryan a copy of Superman for all ages as a gateway drug into reading comic books. He hasn't told me if he's still reading yet, but I guarantee you, if there was a comic to get him in there, that was going to be the one.
Yeah,
I agree with Josh. Though somebody gonna hype or try to do this too, because that's what comic companies do. They copy off each other. Somebody gonna do the same thing, and then it's gonna overflood the market.
A ton of debuts coming from Marvel very soon.
Yeah,
because they've been holding all this stuff back for September when the Penguin Random House deal comes on, and we're going to see them emulate this model that was started with Boom and then apparently perfected by Todd McFarlane. All right, we got Kenneth Dowling. What a great discussion and topics today. You are all outstanding. And to Josh, I'm a multiverse Bruce Wayne, but I would love being an offspring of City of Bruce. Enjoy the weekend, people. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kenneth Dowling.
Absolutely appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. We appreciate you coming here. We've only got one more topic, and that's going to be Fatal Jay crapping all over the Suicide Squad.
Zooks has one more question on this one, though.
This is true. Who is to blame for the 500K? The retailers or the fans?
Both.
Both. Yep.
There's fan interest, and the retailers had to meet it.
Yep.
And that's where you got the orders.
You got somebody like Larry. He has 4 customers that come in and say, I want this.
Yep.
He doesn't really have a choice. It's either what's he going to do? Say, no, I'm not going to order. He's going to say,
I'm going to get 2 of them, and then we're going to do a lottery. So 2 of you will hate me, and 2 of you will love me.
Yeah. Or he could just do what he needs to, charge them to cover the cost. They accept that price. I guarantee he told them, hey, this is how much it's going to cost when it comes in. They said, I don't care. And so he said, okay, cool. And now they get, so yeah, it's the fans, but in some cases, it's also the retailers where both of them are to blame. I know I'm to blame on some of them because I went variant chasing for a while. Ratio variant chasing. Fuck.
Well, they look cool. They look cool.
They do.
Don't blame yourself for that, man. They just look cool.
They're
Whatever
trophies.
look cool, buy it.
Nerddom.
Yeah. They are expensive, goddamn pay-to-win trophies.
So it's interesting that that wasn't included in that question, the publisher, because the publisher is the one who's offering it this way. So why is it that the publisher shares some blame for this?
I don't think Todd's thinking blame on this one. I think he's thinking, I'm cashing in. This is work better than
but it's like, he didn't have to sell the book.
I believe that was his idea. He absolutely should take credit for it. Job well done. He saw the sales for Spawn Universe were 200,000. Obviously, there's interest on a #1 issue of King Spawn. How can we juice it?
But here's what it comes down to. Here's how many real Spawn fans there are. What does Spawn number 312? What was its sales number?
75,000.
Yeah, but What was number 313? What was number 310?
That settled in right around the 70 to 75,000 range after 300.
No, I understand that. So that's what the average is. So you just look at what kind of percentage is of that 75,000. I mean, is this 1,678 copies that he just sold or that he just signed? You're looking at
MG says from Canada, thank you so much for supporting the channel. The 1 at 250 King Spawn at 1697 seems like a lot. It actually doesn't seem like a lot. If that was the total number of the covers, the fact that they're all signed and people are going to keep them in pristine condition is what's going to make them not rare. Is that they're all going to be somewhat in the same condition. That will be a super
it's
rare.
Not rare.
Yeah, it won't be in comparison if they're all like graded between like 9.2 and 9.8. Like that's a lot.
And that's also presuming that the market 10, 15 years from now won't realize how rare it is. So a bit like you guys were saying about Amazing Spider-Man 300, if it starts to spark interest, you can charge whatever you want if you're dealing with a customer that's not informed.
And the thing about ASM 300 is it's cool.
Yeah,
right?
But there's still 500,000 copies.
And definitely Spawn's universe did do 200,000. We would have expected King Spawn #1 to do 200,000. Todd McFarlane and the marketing team at Image Comics saw that. They exploited it, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. That is a job well done. That was what you were supposed to do. And we'll see how this goes. That was a fun topic. Let's talk about the Suicide Squad.
Real quick though, where is Spawn?
Jay, this is your topic.
Oh, sorry.
Please say, Jay. I'm playing with
you. Now, I just wanted to say real fast. I promise you, I'll be fast with my comments. Where is Spawn at right now as a character? Do he still have the burnt up face? Is he still that character, or do he have a normal face, or what? If anybody been reading Spawn, anybody?
Yeah, Alsom's still burnt.
He's still burnt because I seem like I saw him one time. He had a normal face, like he had enough powers to bring his.
Yeah, he can kind of change himself. I think.
Gotcha.
Is that it? All right, Suicide Squad bombed at the box office despite being a fantastic movie, Fatal Jay. Can you believe this?
Somebody told me in the chat Fatal Jay is going to trash this movie because he's a Snyder head. That is not true, man. But I will say this for all the 500 people out there that dislike my video. That was pretty messed up because I was just giving you my honest opinion.
Man, I've never had 500 dislikes. I've had a lot of dislikes.
I have like 289 likes and 500 dislikes just because I told my truth.
You got ratioed.
That James Gunn mob was out for my head, man.
Man, I'm going to get a ratioed shirt and send it to you. You wear it on the channel.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. It was elements of the movie that I liked. It was elements of most of the movie I didn't like. The intro was pretty dope. I love how they just went in, started killing everybody. This is spoilers for people who haven't seen it. But I felt like the body and the ending, the body of the movie is just, it was so boring. I was looking through my phone. I was looking at the timer to see when the movie was done. The ending didn't do it for me. Starro didn't do it for me as a big bad baddie. It was more comedic.
Starro can destroy an entire planet, Fatal J. He's one of the biggest threats in the entire world.
Starro here was funny, sir. It was funny.
It fit the tone of the movie.
No.
I agree that Starro was too big of a threat for the Suicide Squad. That was my complaint. I thought he looked pretty cool. I thought it was pretty funny. Zook's Pop Culture did come in with one final comment on the previous topic. The publisher gave you a choice. You didn't have to indulge him. Absolutely. There's not really the blame to go in it. We're just kind of dissecting what the numbers were on there and whether or not it's going to affect future promotions, which it certainly will be, and it's definitely going to have diminishing returns over time.
And
take that one.
Restraint and willpower are not something that any comic fan, comic shop owner, or comic publisher are exactly known for.
Man. John Willis, he probably didn't like your videos, Fatal J. I'm going to be honest. Wrong. Starro was badass. Heavy smoker.
I don't know. It just felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy DC movie, and a lot of people was praising that. But to me, DC and Marvel need to be separated. DC need to stand on its own.
Listen,
it was just too many things I didn't like.
Or a Zack Snyder Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, hey, air cut. You remember when you was talking about me about the Snyder cut coming? The air cut is coming. and that's very much connected
yeah.
with the Snyderverse.
The
Very
haircut's
much
never
connected.
coming. They've already moved past it. We've got the
No, sir.
the new
It
definitive
trended last week, yesterday. It's coming.
So did President Trump coming back to office yesterday. That didn't happen either.
Look,
Shit trends.
here's the thing. I think that I think the haircut is coming. We talked about this
What else?
last week.
It's coming.
What the hell?
And the reason
Skip?
I say that,
Skip agree with the boy Fatal Jay. You know what, Wes? Sorry, Josh, but you know what, Wes? You know what that means? We might have to do a battle again. We have to do a tag team match.
Skip, why are you encouraging this man? He got 500 dislikes, and now it's flipped because you decided to say he was right. Thanks a lot, Skip.
Thank you, Skip.
Skip, good for you, because he's right. It was absurd. It started off good. It was like, okay, this is the kind of suicide movie, and then it went off the rails.
You got 3 against 1.
Yeah, we got Josh. You already talked about it. What were you saying, Josh? Sorry, we all interrupted you.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just a couple of things. I do think Jay's right. I do think you're going to get the haircut, especially as we move into 2022, because I think a lot of people are subscribed to HBO Max right now because they know they're getting these films for free.
Yep.
Once we get to 2022, depending on COVID, that's probably not going to be the case. And I think people will be less.
They've already announced it.
Yeah. Well, things are changing because they're already starting to postpone films again.
Josh,
but I do think
I really believe, Josh. Sorry, but I really believe if the pandemic didn't happen, we would have never got the Snyder Cut movie. I truly believe that.
Oh,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Probably. And this is why I think they're going to do it too, because they've already got a cut. It's done. People have seen it. They had focus groups around it. So all they literally have to do is release it, and that's potentially free money for them. As for the box office, man, I think a lot of things come into play here. You know, you do have COVID rising in some areas, and it's scaring some people. I think the marketing of the film was a little too niche in where they tried to reach people. There's plenty of people that I know here that didn't even realize it came out. So, I mean, that's a problem as well. You have a hard R movies don't typically do as well box office wise. Specifically, the reason this was R was because it kind of went more of that quote unquote vulgar route. And then you don't have traditional characters. You don't really have a lead star because unfortunately, we've seen Margot Robbie isn't carrying that boat. So Will Smith may have done more than we thought. Jared Leto may have done more than we thought. You've got the first Suicide Squad that didn't perform or wasn't received as well. So that probably hindered some.
Yeah, because the movie actually did good. Josh, it did good. It's just, I guess, the public didn't receive it well.
That's my point. So so like if you go into it and you're like, man, I didn't like the first one. I don't really care if we see this one. You know, it may not mean that you're not going to watch it, but it might hinder your urgency to watch it. So
this is confusion. Is this a sequel? Is it a reboot? You've got characters returning, but supposedly it's a reboot.
Absolutely. It's a reboot. Plus, Idris Elba's character was playing just not Deadshot.
Well, but Doc, this is the thing. The reason why they did that is because Will Smith said he still wanted to do the character Deadshot, but I guess the scheduling was messed up because that character Bloodsport was based off of Will Smith Deadshot character. You notice, like in the beginning of the movie, he was in jail, and him and his daughter.
Yes, I know. That's the whole point. Where he played literally not Deadshot. Yeah. That was the point of his character, to be not Deadshot.
Yeah, but you could tell it was catered for Will Smith to still come back and do that character. I want to see Will Smith come back though, if a Suicide Squad 3 happened, but I don't think it's going to happen. Now, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, because those sales was horrible, box office numbers.
You know, if we're going to get an R-rated Suicide Squad with Margot Robbie, really kind of needed some boobies.
Sorry. Jeez, we got Skip on a heel turn, Doc on a booby heel turn.
You know what's sad to say? But in our perverted country, I think that would have helped sales. I'm serious.
It would have helped the box office.
I think so too.
Not releasing it simultaneously on HBO Max, so it could be pirated the same day.
Yeah.
And look, here's the one thing that really kind of goes against it. I mean, you can have all these excuses and conversations of why it didn't do well, but there is one thing that you got to look at that just is bad for the Suicide Squad. Is even on HBO Max, it underperformed compared to Mortal Kombat.
Like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you know, and that's the one thing that you should be saying, like, oh crap. But you know, I mentioned marketing earlier. So much of the marketing that I saw for the film was social media and not so much elsewhere. And I don't know if that was just Warner Brothers trying to save money, probably. But yeah, you know, you've got an offbeat film with offbeat characters. And then I think some of what, you know, Jay and Gervain may not have liked about the film too, is you don't have a standard story structure. And you know, you've got this up and back and up and back and up and back. So you never get a pacing or momentum that continues. And then you don't have heroes.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Gervain.
I mean, I love this. I love the Suicide Squad. I'm reading the comic now where they're trying to recruit from the Crown Syndicate. The problem with the DC, EU, and all the movies is they're always playing catch up to the Marvel universe. It's clearly Guardians of the Galaxy meets the Suicide Squad. And it's like, brother, I just go watch the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yep. It's like the Suicide Squad is a movie about a bunch of villains who aren't even anti-heroes. They're just villains carrying out missions because they just don't want to get their heads blown off and they can go back to thieving and stealing like they did before. Just do that movie. It's like, what's you know, it's the Dirty Dozen meets DC super villains. Why is that hard? You know, it's like the Star Wars bit was the same bit that they stole. That was Legends of the DC Universe with that stupid bear walking around. That's literally what it was.
You exactly right.
Come on, guys. Get original idea.
You're exactly right. You already had a Joker rated R movie that hit $1 billion where he was evil all the way through. Give us a Suicide Squad movie where they evil all the way through and not heroes.
Just make it
done.
Look, this was literally just DC copying Marvel's homework. And I mean, the Starro fight was literally that same fight from the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yes.
It was literally all it was.
Yep.
They even won the same way.
I just didn't get this one.
Michael Rooker is in it, for God's sakes.
I know what got me 500 dislikes. I know what gave me 500 dislikes.
Your opinion, Jay.
No, I'm going to say it on the show. No, I'm going to say it on the show. I'm going to tell you what I said. Okay. In the beginning, remember Rick Flag?
Yes.
Was it explaining Weasel? And he said Weasel killed 25 children, right? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then later on in the movie, you have Peacemaker kind of defending the experiments of children, and Rick Flag fought him to the death. Why didn't Rick Flag have that much energy for Weasel killing children just like Peacemaker?
I don't think.
To me, that's what made the story a little bit jacked up to me.
Because that's not what got you 500 dislikes. I'm telling you, it's your personality.
It may not have been.
I do want to say, you know,
you're right.
On a good note, I think we hit 158 likes on this live stream, which I do appreciate. If you haven't liked it yet, definitely like it on the way out the door. We're about to finish this up and do our comic book recommendations. Definitely want to thank everybody for joining me. We had a really lively discussion. A lot of things to hit this week. Does anyone else have anything that they needed to promote? You got a big show coming up on Nerdygirlcerates or anything like that going on?
Well, Monday's going to be my manga review, so
if you like manga, go check it out for Manga Mondays. Fatal Jay, what's your next video to get downvoted 500 times?
I have no clue. Whatever news pop up,
whatever's the next one.
I'm doing pretty good because I thought my channel was going to die because I was doing nothing but Snyder Cut stuff. But my channel has been doing real good talking about other DC stuff. So expect more DC news to come my way. I'm gonna try to talk about Marvel too. And also Ninja Blast is coming. Like, it's literally the comic books and the prints are coming to my house. And if you supported the comic book, you will get your copy soon. And thank you so much for your support. And Wes, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. What about you, Josh? You got anything big happening on over at popbyculture.com?
Yeah, we're continuing to just kind of grow and develop. I've already been partnering with some people that are associated with some other sites, and we'll have what we're going to call Pop Talk coming up shortly. So we'll have some video streams of people having conversations about movies and TV and tying it to comic books.
Is that going to be on YouTube? Where are you doing that?
That is the debate. So it looks like we're probably going to hit a couple of different platforms for that. But yeah, the plan is YouTube and potentially some podcast streams to kind of hit multiple markets.
Absolutely. Definitely be on the lookout for that. You got anything to announce, Gervais?
Oh yeah, keep me in prayer as each week I do It's Complicated because there's not enough Pepto-Bismol in the world to help me get so many topics we're throw at. So check us out every Thursday and or Friday. And I like to throw in a good word for Swordfish for all of those who are looking for boobs and movies. That's the only reason to watch that one.
Yeah, you
What
get
are
to
you
see
talking about? That's
Storm's
Hugh
tits.
Jackman.
You get to see
That's the only reason to watch that one, and it's nothing to do with Hugh Jackman. But anyway,
That's a great movie.
I'm just going to
That's
take a
like
second to
the-
plug It's Complicated. I love that show. I love what you're doing. And I love that the two of you are brave enough to get on here and talk about things that are complicated and that some people would just cancel you automatically just for having the conversation. But I love that you hit it from all aspects. So kudos to you two. If you guys in the stream haven't watched any other videos, please go watch them. It's needed and it's good.
thank you, good sir. Thank you.
The idea is to promote honest discourse, to have honest conversations,
that's
and
right.
so that we can disagree on things and still be nice to each other.
There you go.
Definitely appreciate that. All right, Doc, are you doing anything?
When we disagree, you don't be nice to me.
I get likes for calling you out on your BS, man.
That's what I'm saying. The proof is
You
in
don't
the
like it
pudding.
when I disagree with
All them
Jermaine.
debates
They
we
like
don't
it.
had, you've trashed me and made me just rethink my existence on this planet. So it's good that you're being nice to somebody, sir.
Well, it's
No,
our,
it is.
it's our thing. I'm sorry. Fatal Jay, I love you, man. I wouldn't have you on the channel if I didn't.
I love you, babe, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, Doc, what you got coming up? You flying out? You got any projects happening?
Just going back to Texas for a couple of days.
All right, that'll do it for the Doc Hour. Thank you very much. We got comic book recommendations. I knew you were flying to Texas. I would just bust your chops. Doc, what are you recommending this week for comic books? What did you read that was good?
Oh, you know what? I think. Oh wait, Geiger was last week. My brain's all.
That was a good one though.
I'm in all kinds of a fog, like with what fucking day it is. I kind of recommend X-Men Legends #6, but it was okay. I mean, just we'll cover that on This Week in X-Men. I'll just recommend buying back issues this week. It wasn't a terribly good week for me, at least.
Man, we got Infamy or Death with the $4.99 Euro super chat. I recommend Noctera from Snyder. Just started reading it and it's brilliant. And then Justice League Last Ride, last issue was wonderful. And I was going to recommend Last Ride, but I do appreciate you jumping in here and supporting the channel. Justice League Last Ride has been fantastic. We finally revealed what happened to John and why Batman and Superman hate each other now. Absolutely a dope issue. Very good call on that one. Thank you so much. Javade, what do you recommend this week?
You know what? I'm with Doc. There wasn't like a whole lot this week, but I'm still big on Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers. Though they're really just cranking out some really good stuff. So though that Mighty Morphin is my pick this week, I'm gonna get a little controversial with this one because I actually really enjoyed it. But Masters of the Universe Revelation #2, I actually liked it. I've been enjoying the series so far.
Man, we're gonna get all
It was
those
a little-
dislikes that Fatal Jay had.
Yeah, it's a little too much decompressed storytelling, and while I conceptually, philosophically disagree with what they did with Skeletor in terms of the origin, I still found it compelling. So those are my two picks for the week.
My cousin Ryan Barber is recommending Karate Kid. Always a good one, a little off base though. I'm just gonna say this right now, knowing Ryan like I do, he's talking about the Jaden Smith Karate Kid, not the Ralph Macchio. So go for the do it. Thank you for the recommendation, Ryan. Really appreciate that one. All right, who else? Carrie, what are you reading? What are you recommending this week? You read anything?
I just finished and did a review on Monster MD, which I got off Indiegogo. It was really good. I recommend that one. And I'm reading some manga. One of the ones I'm going to be reviewing up next is Moriarty, the Patriot, which I thought was really good.
Very nice. So be looking for that one on Monday. We appreciate that. Fatal Jay, do you read comics?
What? Yes, I read comics.
Wow.
Are you
got anything to
sure?
recommend this week?
Do you want to see all the? You want me to pull the short busters out right now, live on camera? Do you want me to pull the short busters out?
I'll believe you.
Right now I'm reading Thor, old Thor comic book, Thor number 500, drawn by Mike. How do you say Mike's name? Mike Diodato?
Diodato?
Yeah.
Diodato.
Mike Diodato.
It's man, it's dope. It's Thor is not the regular Thor. He's like a Conan looking Thor. I just ordered it off eBay and I'm having a good time with it. I'm gonna order some more back issues, like Doc said. This is a back issue week, so hey, have fun ordering back issues.
Moon Knight. He's got a point there, Fatal J.
Fatal J admitted he is a fake geek. When did I do that?
I think you outed yourself the entire time. Just put it out there. I'm teasing. Fatal J loves comic books, and he absolutely is not a fake geek. He's a nerd to the core.
Yes,
and he
I
loves
am.
breakfast burritos. That's another
Man, I
one.
love breakfast burritos. I need to like patent. I mean, well, you can't patent breakfast burritos, but have my face on a breakfast burrito package like this.
So you want to sell your own brand of breakfast burritos?
I think so. Would you
Ninja
guys
Blast
buy
of
them?
breakfast burritos?
The
Absolutely.
Ninja Blast, Fatal J, breakfast burrito.
People in the
What-
chat and people on the panel. If I came out with my own brand of breakfast burritos, would you guys buy them?
What would be on your breakfast burrito, though?
Whatever you
I
like.
need to know this.
Let me see. It would be cabbage. It would,
No.
it would be
Cabbage. All right, before we go,
Cabbage. Motherfucker.
hold on, guys.
I'm done.
Hold on. Before we go, we should cover this one. Fatal J, now we know Tynion's leaving Batman. Who would you like to see be the Batman writer?
Hold on, say that again. Who's leaving?
James Tynion's leaving Batman. Who would you like to see replace him as the Batman writer?
Jeff Lowe.
There we go. Gervain, who would you like to see replace James Tynion as the Batman writer?
Oh, Chuck Dixon, easily. I need
there
more
you
Chuck.
go.
in my life.
Carrie, who would you like to replace James Tynion as the Batman writer?
Oh, Carrie, I think you're muted.
I think she is muted.
Yeah. Chuck Dixon too. I agree.
Absolutely. All right. We'll send it up to Josh. Who would you like to replace James Tynion?
I said my personal choice would be Ram V. I don't think that'll happen. But Fatal J said Jeff Loeb, and that could be a realistic potential writer that I didn't think
love
about,
Jeff
because
Loeb.
he's coming back to write. He's a big enough name that DC could spin it as a positive marketing turn, and it'll be interesting. I think the choice they're going to end up going with is probably Josh Williamson, at least for now. And I think they'll try to reset, and kind of what they're doing with Spider-Man. They'll get someone in there or a team in there, and then reset in a few months.
All right, Doc, who would you like to see write Batman now that Tynion's leaving?
Vita. I want to see how low the sales can actually get.
Tom King?
No. Vita will Vita will remove asses from seats, and I want to see how many are left.
All right,
How
so
many
you're an
are-
anarchist.
How many will just never leave Batman? That's what I want to see. We saw that with Dan Slott on Spider-Man. We saw absolute bargain basement who will never stop reading Amazing Spider-Man. I want to see it for Batman.
All right, so I do want to say thank you to Nihilus. Hopefully we fully answered your question. I meant to get back to that sooner, and I'm not going to repeat what you said about Fatal J. I don't agree about that one.
Hold on, what happened?
It
What they
was
say
pretty
this
funny.
time?
You got to find it yourself, but it's hilarious. But it's not very flattering for you. And SSJ Future Go Ahead, I did not see that you changed your avatar. If you've been talking here, I feel bad. This is my other friend Josh, who's a Nightwing and Batman fanatic. And he said as soon as I started seeing most movie of the summer praise for Suicide Squad, I knew I was going to hate it. Man, you are the Grinch turning into a Marvel Shield cringe now. Golden Age of DC films is over. There was no Golden Age of DC films.
Yeah, basically. Except for the
They
Nolan
forgot
stuff.
that.
Exists. That's a
The Nolan
fantasy
stuff.
that exists inside Jay's mind.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
the
let
Nolan
me
stuff.
ask y'all this though. Michael Keaton Batman is not considered Golden Age? DC
Okay, we're
films?
going back to
Just
1989.
The first one, yeah.
Movies.
What about
The
Man of
second
Steel? I mean, not Man of Steel. What about Christopher Nolan's? Why I say Christopher Nolan's?
No, yeah,
Christopher
Christopher
Reeve's
Nolan.
Superman goes complete crap on the
Chris
third
Reeves,
movie.
Christopher Reeves, Superman, the first one. What about that one? That's golden age.
Okay, you're going back
like
in
that one.
1979, 1989.
All right,
Okay,
guys,
how about
we're-
something
we're-
in this
stop.
century?
My cousin Ryan says
You right, man. What can I say? You right.
you can never answer your own questions. I would like to see Robert Venditti write Batman, but it's never going to happen. So I do appreciate that. Good way to make me own up to it, Ryan. Appreciate that. Keep me honest. Nightmare X123 says, "How come you guys never talk in depth about the indie up and coming comics, things like Jawbreakers and All Duration Comics, like you do with the big two?" Because it draws no eyes onto the channel. Unfortunately, when I do highlight indie stuff, basically people stop watching.
Jawbreakers is that boy, your boy Zach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that was still coming out. Those comic books.
Yeah, he's got some sequels.
I still need to. I need to read the first one. Can somebody mail it to me?
No.
No,
Why not?
because I'm not just giving you free shit. I send stuff out to people all the time.
Well, I can't find Jawbreakers online, so somebody send it to me, please. I
Do not
give you my
pirate the
PO
comic and
box.
send it to Fatal J. Make him go buy it.
No,
like
so
everybody
I
else.
want it from somebody who bought it and then send it to me. Okay, so you
Yeah.
can accuse me of bootlegging or pirating the stuff. Okay.
Josh, aka SSJ Future Go Head, the Batman aficionado, says it was a rough week. This bullshit with Tim, and they just tore down a cohesive Batman universe after it was just established. Kind of defeat. I understand where you're coming from. The good news is, if you're a Batman fan, there are going to be 53 comics featuring Batman in November. You can just jump on the know. There's so many Batman comics.
And none of them will matter.
Debatable.
Hopefully they pick a good creator to replace James Tynion. I don't imagine they're going to continue on with what he was doing, but we do know that they're moving towards another Batman event in 2022 where Batman leaves Gotham, and there's going to be another kind of battle for the Cal style event. I know you would like that one from Tony Daniels. So we shall see what happens. Tomorrow's another day. I think you're going to feel better, and it's Batman. It's always going to look up, and we'll see what happens with 10. But hey, they haven't done it to Dick Grayson yet. That's the good news. And thank you very much for supporting
because they want to kill him.
They would like to. All right, my recommendations are gonna be Eve #4 from Boom Studios. That's absolutely, if you like science fiction, kind of apocalyptic future stuff, that's a really, really good comic series. And Daredevil 32, that's my other recommendation. Go check those two out. I've read so much Batman and X-Men to get ready for our two shows, and they were all average or crap.
Yeah.
Even Batman 89 wasn't that good. I couldn't believe it.
You have to be a true talent to do an X-Men book. So many characters. A team book
you
is.
you just have to be competent.
Guys, the show's over. What are you doing?
Oh, the show is
You
over.
gotta recommend, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
You recommend,
No.
right? You did.
I did
I
not.
knew it. I was like, we didn't have anyone say Batman, and like Josh is on the channel. Josh, what are you recommending? I'm
I
sorry.
wasn't gonna recommend Batman. I was gonna follow your recommendation with Daredevil. It is Daredevil 33, but Daredevil and then Silver Coin. And since we kind of touched on it earlier with Robin, we mentioned The Long Halloween. But if you haven't read Robin Year One, go get it. It's excellent.
Chuck Dixon.
And there's also like a shorter graphic novel called The Gauntlet. And it's also about Robin kind of right before it's prior to Year One. It's basically his last test before Batman's going to let him operate as Robin to go into Year One. So both of those books,
done,
excellent reads.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. We know we went long, but there were some really big topics to hit this week. We even cut one of them off and still went long. So definitely appreciate supporting the channel. Thank you all for liking the video. Thank you for downvoting Fatal Jay's video. We always appreciate that. And we'll get the crew back together next weekend to have fun talking about comic books. And hey, it'll be a better week, right?
Yeah.
All right, Doc, you can say what you want to say.
Wash your ass.